hanggang 11 o'clock.
Probably we can recognize, yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah. Good morning, Yusek Eric Domingo. This is
Hi, good morning,
Governor
Gov.
Presby Velasco.
Good morning po. Good morning po.
Yeah, morning po.
Sorry for short notice.
Thank you for joining us. Sorry for the short notice. Anyway, with Secretary Duque regarding his request, no, that the vaccines that are in the possession of the provincial governments be returned to the national government. But I think yesterday, 1 p.m., he called me up and he said there will be no recall anymore. So we decided to push through with the meeting, and because there are questions coming from some of our governors, no? So Yusek Domingo, good morning ulit. One query is we want to use the antigen test for screening of visitors and guests to the LGU of destination. The FDA, or will it be DOH which will handle that? Whether we can use it or not, or IATF?
Actually po, yeah, it will be IATF. The FDA can give you a list of the FDA-registered antigen tests. Pero yun pong for screening, kung gagamitin siya sa protocol, then the IATF will have to approve the protocol for using antigen tests.
Yes. So, Yusek, as long as it's FDA registered, we can use any of those test kits already registered with you.
Opo. And there are a list of them that have been validated. So kung pipili po kayo, you can check the website of RITM. Nakapost po doon yung results ng mga validation test nila. So you can choose the best ones for your needs.
So any test can be procured by the LGUs with its own money. Tama? Yusek, yung pong the LGUs can procure any of the antigen test kits, no? With their own monies. Pwede ho yun. As long as it's FDA registered, right?
Yes, sir. I would think so. Ang requirement lang naman po siguro nyo sa procurement law is that they are FDA registered. Kasi if I'm not mistaken, yung mga HTAC recommendation naman, that's for the DOH and PhilHealth.
Yeah. Yung saliva test, is that already, Yusek Vega said DOH has not yet allowed the use of that. Are you familiar with that?
I know that
yung saliva test, the one that
yung pong RT-PCR na saliva, ang alam ko po pinapayagan lang ng Department of Health is Red Cross. Lahat kasi ng RT-PCR kits sa atin ngayon na registered are for nasopharyngeal swab pa rin. Wala naman pong registered na saliva test. Meron pong saliva test na for antigen testing, pero so far po ang alam ko hindi pa po ginagamit ng DOH.
Kasi there are some companies who are offering the equipment for the saliva test. So if ever, those equipment will have to pass through FDA or RITM?
Actually po, meron na pong approved ang FDA na for saliva test. Kaya lang, kung gagamitin nyo siya, then you have to get siguro po some clearance from IATF. Lalo na, it's in the same way as, parang antigen test din po siya kaya lang instead of swabbing the nose, you use saliva. So it's basically an antigen test.
So we just have to get an authorization from IATF to use the saliva test kits. Is that correct ho, Yusek?
For for ano po yung borders, no, ang ano niya for screening. Yes sir, I would think po
Yes,
you
yes,
need
yes.
some clearance from IATF. Parang antigen ano siya antigen test siya. So antigen test using either swab or saliva.
Mm,
Governor, excuse po.
yeah.
DOH Yusek Kabutahe is here pala if you have questions also. He was
Okay, so yeah, if good morning ho, Yusek Mirna Kabutahe. We're discussing the use of the saliva test, no? By the LGUs for screening purposes. Yusek Vega said DOH has not yet authorized the use of that. Although we know that the Red Cross has its own equipment and has offered its services, no, with respect to the saliva test. So, excuse me lang ho, Yusek Eric, no, I just asked Yusek Kabutahe, can the LGUs already buy the equipment for saliva test and make use of the saliva test for screening purposes?
Sir, to my knowledge, and Director Nika Howe is here, it's only PRC that has been allowed to use the saliva test until we have a more concrete evidence that shows that it's working well. Then the DOH will come up with its recommendation. Director Nika Howe is with us in the meeting, sir. If you can allow her to manifest.
Sige po, Director Howe, can you contribute something to this issue? Go ahead po, Director Howe. Director Howe, yeah, good morning ho. What can you say on the proposition that Sandy, do you hear me?
Yes po, Gov.
Director Howe, are you there? Are you connected to us already?
Good morning po, Gov. Apologies po, I was actually having difficulty hearing earlier. If you don't mind po repeating the question. Pasensya po.
Okay, the proposition is whether or not the LGUs can procure equipment and make use of the saliva test for screening purposes of visitors to the LGUs of destination to determine if the visitor is infected or not. We know that Red Cross is allowed, no, to conduct the saliva testing, but the Red Cross facilities are only in the cities, and a lot of provinces do not have a molecular laboratory, more particularly the saliva test, no? Are companies that offer equipment for the saliva test. We want to know if the LGUs can already apply or make use of the saliva test for screening purposes of visitors.
Yes. Gov, I think we'll have the ano po later. We can ask our regulatory and our testing group po. But for now po kasi, Governor, it is not yet considered as part of our testing strategies. The one that is being done through Red Cross is actually in the realm po of a study po, no? So we're actually reviewing right now kung ano po yung efficacy nitong saliva test. So at this point po, Governor, it's not yet part of our tools for testing. And it was actually also recommended in previous meetings with the IATF that RT-PCR remains to be a gold standard. Or in border control, yung screening po of symptomatics and yung pag-quarantine po for 14 days remain to be better options po. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Gov.
Yeah, Director How. So, Reso 101 mentions only the RT-PCR test, no, as a pre-travel requirement. So, if a traveler presents a certificate from the Red Cross that per the saliva test, they're negative. So the LGUs will not honor this certificate from Red Cross? Did you get the question?
Yes po, Gov. Parang that's how it is po, Gov, at this point po. Currently, parang it's just additional information, but it's not yet part of our treatment processes po. Thank you po.
Well, I think DOH should really clarify this matter, because I was interviewed and I said it's only RT-PCR that's allowed for travelers. And I think the chief of the Red Cross commented that the saliva test of Red Cross is sort of authorized already. So I guess this should be clarified once and for all, whether the travelers can make use of the saliva testing being done by the Red Cross. It may confuse people. It will confuse the LGU. And the people who will avail of the services of the Red Cross will also be spending hard-earned money for tests which we later on will not recognize. So I do hope that DOH will come up with a clarification on that, no? Okay. So we go back to the antigen test, no? The proposition of the LGU, well, it is not mandatory for all, no? It's discretionary on the part of the LGUs to make use of the testing upon arrival, no? Upon arrival at the port of entry. Because right now it's only pre-travel requirement that's done outside, no? But for non-APORs and APORs, except government officials, we have no way of finding out if they are infected or not, no? Because there are a number of visitors who are asymptomatic and may be carriers. So it's possible that the clinical and exposure assessment will not be able to identify those who are carriers. That's why we are proposing that we make use of the antigen test. My question to you, Yusek Eric, the antigen test is already authorized by DOH, right? It can be used, no? But only for confirmatory purposes. Is that the situation now?
Yun po kasing antigen test, there are actually a few that are even WHO approved. Kaya lang po yung antigen test, mataas lang yung accuracy niya kapag meron ng sakit, no, at the time that you have symptoms and then at the time that you have maybe fever and cough, doon siya mataas ang accuracy. So ang DOH, ang kanyang recommendation is to use the antigen test only when there's no RT-PCR test available. So halimbawa po pag halimbawa merong maraming cases sa community nyo, sa barangay, tas gusto natin lang mag-quick quick assessment, then we can use the antigen test. However, after the antigen test, may confirmatory pa rin po na RT-PCR. So the antigen test is useful when you need a quick turnaround time, when there's no RT-PCR available, and of course, ang confirmatory pa rin po yung RT-PCR.
Tama po yun, Yusek. Actually, that's our proposition Because in many provinces, they don't have the molecular laboratory for the RT-PCR. And so not only is it a little expensive for us, Likewise, the waiting time takes from 5 days to 7 days. That's why we have requested IATF and DOH to allow us to make use of the antigen test as a preliminary testing measure. And then if positive, we subject them immediately to a swab, and that is the RT-PCR test already. But we isolate them the moment the antigen test result comes out to be positive. Now, if it's negative, then they will be allowed to go home, but they'll be under active surveillance by the PERHs and the barangay officials, no? And then they will be regularly visited in their respective homes, no? But they'll also be asked to comply strictly with the minimum health standards, because the negative result may be false negative also. So we do hope that DOH will allow the LGUs to either use the antigen test for LGUs which do not have the molecular laboratories, or for those provinces with the molecular laboratories, they can opt to use the RT-PCR. Ano kaya ang pag-asa niya na Yusek Domingo?
Talagyan po natin kay Yusek Mirna. Yusek Mirna, ano naman po yun recognized po yun na na use talaga ng antigen test when there's no available RT-PCR and you need a quick response. No? So I think the DOH would in fact, I've heard the DOH say several times din naman they agree that that's where it can be useful. Kasi talaga naman kung 3 araw pa bago dumating yung RT-PCR result, at least doon sa community, maiiwalay nyo na yung mga nag-positive at malalayo na natin. And I think that's a very very reasonable request po ng mga local government.
Sige po, we can hear. Thank you po, Yusek Eric. Kasi Yusek Mir Nakabutay, baka you want to say something about the proposal.
Yes, sir. From the discussions, we will propose again that this will be an alternative for those who do not have RT-PCR or the regular RT-PCR, or those who are having a long time for RT-PCR. Although we will have to judge, because it will be waste of time and waste of resources if you do an antigen RT-PCR for those who are not symptomatic, because it's not conclusive. But we will repropose, Sir Gob, for this as an alternative as proposed by DG Erico. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Mir.
I think Governor Tan would like to raise a question. Governor Philip Tan.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Hi, hello. Go, Presby.
Thank you.
Comment lang po. Nag-awayan na kami dito sa IATF sa region kasi nag-antigen ako on the borders. Sabi ko, can you hear me? Ang IATF 101, nagsabi lang.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me, Go, Presby?
Naririnig po namin kayo.
Go ahead, Philip. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
We will tell you pag hindi ka namin narinig.
Okay. Under IATF 101, ang sinabi lang doon na upon arrival, no need of authority to travel, no need medical certificate. Ang gawin natin yung assessment. Hindi naman nagsabi na bawal ang antigen eh. So sa atin na yan. Pinapigil ako ng regional IATF. Sabi ko, hindi naman kayo nagsabi na bawal ang antigen. So mag-antigen tayo kasi hindi naman binawal sa IATF. Kung gusto nila, i-amend nila yung IATF 101 na bawal ang antigen kasi naman tayo naman ang gagastos. And I did that already for so many months. And bawat antigen ko, bawat arrival sa airport, mayroon akong 5 positive, may 4 na positive. At maganda dito, sila lahat ay asymptomatic. 1% lang ang hindi positive upon confirmation. Meaning, 99% ng accuracy ko. So let's continue on the antigen kasi pag negative naman sa antigen, pina-release namin. At saka monitor na sa barangay for 10 days. Yung BHW nag-monitor sa kanila kung may symptoms ba. Then after 10 days, pakawalan na namin sa monitoring. And pag positive, confirmatory sa RT-PCR. Nilagay namin sa isolation facility. Nakasave ngayon ang province ng malaki kasi with antigen, konti lang ang ilagay mo sa isolation. So yun lang naman na walang makapag-figure sa atin na mag-antigen tayo kahit sino pa man. Hindi na tayo maghingi ng clearance ng DOH, sorry, kasi hindi naman nilagay sa 101 na bawal ang antigen. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat.
Go, Philip. Actually, yung Reso, actually, what you're doing is what we're suggesting, no, for the authorization from IATF. Pero let me clarify. Reso 101 of the IATF also provides that testing shall not be mandatory for the traveler. Yun siguro ang matter that we need some amendment just to be clear about it, no? Kasi they have removed the travel requirements like no travel authority, no medical certificate, no quarantine. That's why the general rule really is that testing shall not be mandatory. That is what they're saying under letter B number 1, no? So that is what we want to be amended, that the LGUs will be given the discretion to impose testing on travelers and non-appors upon arrival. Okay? I think Reso 101 has removed the testing requirements.
Yung kasi sa 101, ang option lang natin doon is if we require RT-PCR from the point of origin. Ako naman, I don't like that kasi magastos sa travelers natin eh. Wala nang pera, wala nang kinakain, tapos babayad pa lang 6,000, 8,000 for RT-PCR. So ngayon, yun lang ang option natin na we require RT-PCR from origin. Wala namang sinabi sa arrival eh. Walang sinabi sa arrival. So we can do anything under the sun upon arrival kasi ang sinabi nila assessment. Pwede naman gawin natin na parts assessment ang antigen. Parts assessment. Hindi naman na-define kung ang assessment eh, di ba? Thank you po.
Thank you, Go Philip. Although later on we will be joined by CAPSEC Karlo Nograles who will explain that further. No? But letter B, number 1, states that testing shall not be mandatory for travelers. Actually, we only made a suggestion to the IATF that we be given the right to require RT-PCR prior to arrival. That is our amendment and that was approved. But the general rule is that LGUs cannot subject any traveler or non-appors to testing. Kaya siguro your attention was called by the RITF, no? But let us hear later CAPSEC Karlo Nograles on that. I also agree with the procedure being implemented by Gov. Philip. That is our proposition, that it be made clear that we can make use of the antigen test upon arrival for testing of the visitors. And I fully agree with the procedure. But later on, let's ask CAPSEC Nograles to clarify us on this. No? Anyway, is there any other governor who would like to say something on the issue?
Governor.
Okay, so yeah.
Governor. Can we take advantage of the time that is available for our USEC Domingo because he has an 11 o'clock meeting, and so questions pertaining to the
I'll ask you. I'm sorry. Okay, we go back to USEC Domingo. USEC Domingo. Well, personally, we have CT scan equipment, no? And it requires an FDA approval for the province of Marinduque, and we got the equipment last year yet. So can we request quicker action on the application for licensing of our CT scan, no, in Marinduque? And that's a personal question, okay? Now,
Yes, so padala niyo
Yusek
po sa akin
Domingo.
yung application number so I can have it checked.
Sige po, sige po. Thank you po, Yusek. Well, one question, Yusek, is the suggestion that we use Yonghwa for treatment of COVID-19 patients. What can FDA say on that? Has FDA approved Yonghwa as a treatment for COVID-19 patients?
Well, Gov, yung pong Lianghua, ano siya, it's a traditional Chinese medicine and it's approved by FDA for the treatment of mga respiratory illnesses, no? Yung mga mahirapan huminga, mga may konting lagnat. Generally, hindi po kasi siya specific for COVID-19 but for the general signs and symptoms of of mga respiratory illness. This is approved in China for treatment, for example, like SARS, like COVID. Pero dito po sa atin kasi ang classification ng traditional medicine is kung ano yung symptom na ginagamot niya, no? But it is FDA approved. Na-test na po natin 'yan. Maganda naman po yung safety profile niya. Hindi lang po siya approved specifically for COVID-19 sa Pilipinas, but it's approved for pulmonary and lung illness.
So the government doctors of the LGUs, hello, Sandy? So Yusek, Eric, the government doctors, not for COVID-19 patients, but for respiratory ailments. Is that correct?
Opo, for respiratory ailments in general. So yung mga may mga mild symptoms, pwede po yan pailsitahan ng gamot.
Okay. How about the ivermectin? It's a hot issue nowadays, no? Because there are a lot of reports and findings from different medical institutions in different countries saying ivermectin may be a cure for COVID-19. A group of physicians is also saying it may be good as prophylaxis, no? Ivermectin is already approved by FDA, is that correct?
Okay, first po, no, the keyword is maybe, no? Talaga pong maybe pa itong ivermectin, no? There are several ongoing clinical trials on ivermectin, pero yung mga specialist po natin ni-review yung mga clinical trial na yon, and so far none of them have shown any conclusive evidence na useful siya against COVID-19, no? Wala pong nakita pa doon, parang may 5 ongoing study at wala pa pong proof that it will it will treat patients with COVID-19 or prevent COVID-19. Ang problem lang po kasi din sa ivermectin, so hindi tayo sure kung makakatulong siya or hindi. Pero ang second problem po, yung ivermectin, meron po yung it's an anti-parasitic medicine. Kaya lang po dito sa Pilipinas, wala po kasing ivermectin na registered na pang-tao. Ang registered po na ivermectin dito, mga veterinary products, pang-hayop po, no? Ang merong ivermectin na pang-tao dito is for skin ointment for mga skin parasites. So, ang po na FDA, hindi po safe na inumin ng tao yung gamot ng hayop. Wala pong human preparations ng ivermectin dito. Iba po ang dosage sa tao at sa hayop, at saka yung quality po hindi pareho yan, no? So these are not fit for human consumption. Dati po, merong ivermectin na oral na registered din sa Pilipinas, pero wala na po in the last few years, wala na po nagre-register niyan dito. So ang if it's an animal grade product, it should not be taken by humans. At hindi nga po proven naman talagang maybe pa po yung ivermectin na yan. So we should not be rushing to look for it, and we should not be taking animal medications.
So the proponents of ivermectin for treatment of human beings should apply with FDA. Is that correct, Yusek?
Yes, kung gusto po nila magpasok ng for human purpose na na ivermectin, they should register the product para sigurado po tayo sa safety and quality. But even then, it will only be registered in the Philippines for treatment of parasites. Kasi nga po unproven pa naman yung COVID-19. Pero pwede po yung ipasok for treatment of parasites. Kasi katulad po nung hydroxychloroquine natin, registered naman yan for treatment of malaria dito sa Pilipinas, di po ba? Kasi these are proven medicines naman, but they have to be registered with us.
Yeah. Yung they've suggested the use of BCO and the medium chain triglycerides, no? Can the government physicians prescribe that to COVID-19 patients, or does it have to be registered with the FDA? The BCO MCT.
Marami naman pong registered na BCO sa atin, no? So there are a lot of products that are registered with FDA. At saka hindi naman po siya mahirap i-prescribe kasi po siya, food supplement. It's not a drug. It don't even need a prescription, no? So available po yan, and I think sa DOST is conducting some studies, and it's not a standalone treatment. Supplement lang po talaga. They give it in addition to other standard treatment, and I think the DOST is seeing that there's some some positive value. Pero as supplement at hindi yun po, madali pong i-dispense yan kasi it's food.
Thank you, Yusek. Now there are persons who are proposing the use of I don't know if you've heard about this, the CAMST. There's a certain Dr. Alcala from Quezon who is suggesting the use of CAMST as a treatment also. Maybe if that has been registered with the FDA. CAMST daw ho, CAMST.
Parang hindi pa po, ngayon ko pa lang po narinig. I will have it check. Ano pong pangalan? Is it a medicine?
Hindi ho, it's parang it's a tea made of mga leaves yata of iba-ibang herbs or Siguro we will ask the proponent to also submit it to you. That's the best thing to do, no?
Governor.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Can we ask?
Sige, Sandy.
Can you confirm with DG Domingo kung alin na po yung may EUA approval ng mga vaccines?
Opo. So far
sige, Yusek.
Opo. So far po, just to update everybody, yung may EUA approval po na vaccines would be Pfizer, AstraZeneca, yun pong Sinovac, and then last week we also issued the EUA for Gamaleya, yun pong Sputnik V vaccine, no? Ang pending na lang po na application sa FDA as of now is yung Covaxin from India. This is from Bharat Biotech. Kasasubmit lang po nila nung kanilang clinical data. So this is now being reviewed by our experts. Yun pong mga iba, wala pa pong application. Yung Sinopharm, medyo magulo po yun. Merong dalawang nag-a-apply. Kaya lang parang hindi naman sila nire-recognize nung company na sa China na sila yung local distributor dito. No? So wala naman silang nasasubmit ng mga requirements so far. So mukhang hindi po ako sigurado kung talagang mga sila talaga yung authorized representative dito. At ang nagtanong na po sa amin na mag-a-apply soon, hopefully would be Moderna, yung pong sa Janssen, yung Johnson & Johnson, and yung Novavax. Ito yung tatlo na nakikipag-meeting na sa amin since last month. But so far, hindi pa rin po sila nakaka-submit officially. So yun pong ang apat po natin ngayon yung Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Sinovac, and Sputnik by Gamaleya.
Sandy, do you have other questions from the governor?
Governor Matthew po, meron po siyang pinost sa chat. Governor Matt?
Okay, can you read it? Gobmat, do you want to say something? Hello, Gobmat, are you there?
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I was just commenting on the latest literature that we have regarding
Yeah, go
the
ahead.
antigen testing, and there's no mention naman po na kailangan exclusively on symptomatics. It also has a certain accuracy on asymptomatics, just in response to Yusek Mirna's point no, na hindi
Right.
po siya accurate sa asymptomatic. And I think many of us governors can speak from experience that we've caught many asymptomatics with our antigen tests. No?
Okay.
So
Wow,
thank you.
great.
Just wanted to
Thank-
share.
Governor,
Okay,
I think your focal person, Ryan, also brought up the issue that there are several companies, travel agents, supplying fake RT-PCR results to their clients. And so upon presentation sa border, pinifake po nila yung RT-PCR. They change the name, they change the date. How do we resolve that po? It should be sanctioned or penalized.
Yeah, correct, Sandy. Thanks for bringing that up. We've been experiencing a lot of fakes recently, and we're trying to verify all tests with of course, the appearance of it and also the QR codes. But at some degree, there's only so much we can do, no? So those that look dubious, we just antigen test again. But yeah, I hope there's some sort of uniform penalty or something we can do to really verify these tests that are being presented.
Yes, Governor.
That's an important thing, no, to address. I think Governor Matt, you can ask your provincial prosecutor to file the criminal complaint because there may be a falsification of a government document, no. So that's one thing that we can do about it, no, to stop the use of the fake certificates. And we really have to think of a way by which we will be able to know if the certificate is really genuine or not. No? So we will work on that. Okay?
Thank you, Gov. Presley. Thanks,
All
Sandy.
right. Thanks, Govmat. Yeah.
Nasa revised penal
Oh, we
code
go
naman
back.
po yata, Gov, no? Yung falsification.
Yeah. Right. We can make use of that. Sige, I think Yusik Eric has very limited time. Can we ask the other governors if they have any query to Yusik DG Eric of FDA? So apparently wala na ho.
Governor, I think
yeah.
Yusek Mirna Kabutahe has something to respond to the issue brought up by Governor Matt. Yusek Kabutahe.
Okay. Yusek Mirna. Okay. You're recognized. Go ahead. Yusek Mirna. Yeah. You want to say something on the fake certificates? Yusek Mirna.
Mahina lang po yung connection niya pero nag-message po siya. DOH will take note of the issue raised by Governor Matt on the antigen test.
Yes, sir, we take.
Who's this? That's Mirna.
Yes,
Yusek Mirna.
mahina po yung connection niya.
Okay. There may be a difficulty in the...
Sir, we take note of the fake certificates. Can you hear me, sir?
Ayun po. They will take note din also of the fake certificates.
All right. Okay. Any other matter that you wish to take up with DG Eric? Mukhang wala na.
Ay, andito na po si Governor.
Go ahead. Okay, Governor Nonoy. Sorry. Go ahead.
Governor Dax Kua po.
Governor Dax. Sige, Governor Dax. Sorry. Akala ko Governor Nonoy. Go ahead,
Thank
Gov
you.
Dax.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
President. Quick question lang pasensya na, DJ Eric, medyo maingay dito sa lugar ko. Pero tatanong ko lang po sana kung yung saliva specimen for PCR test, is it equally as accurate as the swab test po?
It's not equal, no? I think they did the testing at Red Cross and it's similar but it's not exactly equal. Yung concordance test nila, meaning the agreement between the saliva test and the nasopharyngeal swab, is, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in like 94, 95%, no? Tapos ibig sabihin hindi 100% docs.
Pero yung reliability na Sir Eric, is it superior to antigen?
It's not superior. It's kasi yung gold standard pa rin natin is the nasopharyngeal RT-PCR. So it means that for some yung nasopharyngeal swab, pag ginawa ng saliva swab, pag ginawa ng saliva RT-PCR yung same patient, yung agreement ng results nila is not 100%, no? So hindi pareho, hindi lahat ng negative sa RT-PCR ay lumalabas na negative, and yung positive, I think merong positive sa RT-PCR na hindi rin lumalabas na positive doon sa saliva. But overall, parang 94% yung kanilang agreement doon sa results, but hindi complete.
Sir Eric, kasi lang nagtataka lang po ako kasi we allowed Red Cross to conduct the saliva test, RT-PCR din daw po. How come it's not yet available for our other laboratories? Kakulangan po ba ng lab na mag-apply, or is it a systemic thing that we need to understand po?
First, no, it's not under FDA, the approval of the labs. No? Ang kasi, none of the test kit, actually all of the test RT-PCR kits that are registered with FDA right now are for nasopharyngeal test. So walang for saliva na RT-PCR. Tapos ang ginawa ng Red Cross, meron silang din-develop na procedure for it, and then they did a study with UPNIH, tapos pina-approve nila ngayon sa DOH. Ang DOH, I think, approved the use of the saliva sample, but only for Red Cross. So siguro, kung yung ibang laboratory mag-a-apply din for saliva, maybe, inuhula ko lang to of that, baka kailangan din nilang maggawa ng parang validation study nila. No? All I know is that the DOH right now only allowed Red Cross to use the saliva.
Thank you po, DJ. So, yung pong accreditation of lab limited to Red Cross kasi sila lang po ang gumawa ng testing, gather the data, and submitted to DOH. So that is a DOH concern po. Tama po, ano? Pero yung pong mga kits na gagamitin ng Red Cross, or eventually kung iba pong labs will also present some tests and apply for saliva test. Paano yun? FDA po ba ang authority that screens the eligibility of the test kits?
Yes. Yung registration ng test kits would be sa FDA. And we only approve depending on the indication in the product at saka kung ano yung mga test na ginamit niya, tsaka kung ano yung manufacturer's information on the product. And then after we approve it, we set some standards on approval, and then we have them validated and tested by RITM. Pag bumagsak sila doon, then natatanggal sila sa listahan. But if they satisfy the standards after testing with RITM, then tuloy yung kanilang use of the kit in the Philippines.
Thank you po, sir. Yun lang po ang tanong ko, Mr. President. Para lang, kasi marami pong mga...
Thank you, Doc, Chairman.
Sir President.
Okay,
Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Thank you po. Dagdag ko lang po ang tanong doon sa kay Sir Eric. Kasi po dito sa amin sa province, right now, because of the rising COVID cases yan sa NCR, we require na lahat po ng papasok sa amin for the first time, kailangan may negative RT-PCR, and medyo masakit po sa bulsa ng mga bayan natin. That's why we even are endorsing na mag-saliva test na lang sa Red Cross. Kaya at least natanong na rin siguro ni Governor Dax. Kasi pagkakalam ko rin, Red Cross lang inaalaw na may saliva test. If it's possible na baka, pwede po ba na private ang mag-apply? And then may follow-up lang po ako na question. Parang si Secretary Galvez ata informed us na parang may bago daw na nag-apply na PCR test na mas mabilis po yung labas, mga within hours lang, and mas mura. Is it true po, Sir Eric? I don't know if UH or sa'yo po ang mas makakasagot po.
Yung sa saliva po, I think sinabi nga po ni Yusek Mir na kanina, talagang gina-validate pa po nila. I think they're doing parallel testing again with Red Cross. So depende po siguro sa resulta nun before the DOH will allow more widespread use of saliva as for RT-PCR. Mukhang yun po ang hinihintay nila. Meron pong mga several experts po na nag-evaluate nun. So tinitingnan kasi nga po, like I said, hindi po siya 100% yung pagkapareho niya sa nasopharyngeal swab saka saliva. But I suppose po the DOH will make a decision on that soon. Yun naman pong yun pong mas mabilis, yun po yung gene expert, no? Actually available na po yan. Opo, sa most kaya lang limited po kasi yung cartridge, yung problema, yung supply ang limited. Dahil yung manufacturer hindi niya kayang masupplyan lahat ng needs sa buong mundo. But it only takes mga 4 hours para po magka-resulta, no? Including sa some hospitals natin. And approved na po yan.
Yeah, we do have a gene expert na machine dito. Follow up lang po. Sir Eric, may gene expert po kami na machine dito. So pwede po pala namin magamit yon. And if possible, we can order na lang din ng cartridge niyan. So sa po,
so far po ngayon, ang nag-distribute ng cartridge for COVID-19 ng DOH kasi nga po medyo limited. Pero yes, yung pong gene expert machine ninyo na pong TB, yung din po yung ginagamit. Kailangan lang po ng training, tapos ina-accredit po ng DOH for that. Ayan si Yusek Mir na po.
Okay, thank you.
Sir,
yes, ma'am.
May I answer, Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Yusek Mirna?
Mirna, sir. Naririnig ba ako?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yung tungkol po sa gene expert,
yes, go ahead.
We already lifted the moratorium on accreditation. So pwede na ho mag-request, especially those who do not have the RT-PCR. I-check na lang po natin that we will give you a copy of that lifting of the moratorium on gene expert. It is faster. Within the day, di ba, 24 to 6 hours may resulta na yun po. So we will share with you, Sir Gob, kung nakalabas na yung memo on lifting the moratorium for accreditation of gene expert. Salamat po.
Gob, press B.
Thank you, Yusek Mirna.
Gob.
Steve Solon po.
Yeah, who's this, please?
Steve.
Gob Steve. Teka, excuse me, Gob Steve. Okay. Go ahead, Gob Steve. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So for the DOH.
Go ahead, Gob Steve.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Governor, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Steve. Go ahead.
Okay, so for the DOH.
Go ahead, Steve.
When you say lift the moratorium for accreditation of gene expert, what do you mean po? Kasi we have 2 gene expert labs running right now in the region. Ito lang ang 2 out of the 3 labs that we have, and we're having a hard time because the DOH said that they will stop buying cartridges. And if the LGU cannot buy cartridges and the DOH has said that they will stop buying cartridges, I mean, how can we move forward, ma'am?
Yusik Mina. Hello,
Sir,
Yusik Mina.
Sir, we are
Yeah, go ahead.
now continuing to procure gene expert for the labs. So that's an assurance. Although last year there was some problem in the supply, now the supply is better. But we need to balance it with also the need to continue our TV programs para naman hindi makalimutan that the gene expert is also used to check our TV programs, especially our drug-resistant TV programs. So, we will check, sir, kung sa inyo, kung ano yung status po sa inyo,
Yes.
Steve Solon.
Yes.
Opo, we check ko po. Then we'll get back to you.
Yes, ma'am. Another thing we want to request also, Ma'am Mirna, is that the gene expert kasi, yung RT-PCR, hindi siya PhilHealth, hindi siya natutulungan ng PhilHealth. In other words, can we get a PhilHealth accreditation for gene expert tests? Kasi 'di ba kung magpapatest tayo sa RT-PCR, PhilHealth is able to come in and reimburse the hospitals. Sa gene expert po, as of now, from my understanding, is kung magra-run tayo ng gene expert RT-PCR, hindi siya accredited sa PhilHealth, ma'am.
Sir, yes, because they're both RT-PCR, so it should also be reimbursable from PhilHealth. It did not discriminate between the RT-PCR using the regular lab and the gene expert. They are still RT-PCR.
Yes, ma'am. Pero parang hindi yata nangyayari yun, ma'am eh.
Yes, we will check it. We will raise it again, sir, to PhilHealth.
PhilHealth.
RT-PCR. Sige po. We will take note, sir. PhilHealth. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, go Steve.
Go press B.
All right.
Go press B. Go
Thank
press
you.
B.
Yeah.
Go press B.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Go press B.
Who's this?
Governor Bonds po.
Okay, Governor Boss. Sige, you recognize Boss. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will
Go ahead,
do a
Boss.
follow-up dun sa sinabi ni Governor Steve. Kasi meron din po kaming gene expert machine as early as May last year. Ang concern po natin, last year, nakakausap po si Yusek Mirna regularly paghingi ko ng cartridge. Kaya lamang po, we were advised last month na ang DOH ay magpo-provide na lang ng cartridge on the second quarter of the year. So simula po nung tumigil ang supply ni DOH ng cartridge sa Gene Expert Laboratory, tumaas bigla po ang aming COVID cases kasi we have to bring again our samples to our ITM, which again, tulad ng dating problema, tumatagal po ang results ng 2 to 5 days bago dumating. So naiipon, kaya pagdating, problema na. Unlike before, nung fully operational ang Gene Expert machine namin, meron po kami ngayong regular na daily testing at agad alam namin ang result within the day. Now, salamat naman po at pwede nang bumili yung local governments. Sa matter of fact, nakadalawa na po kaming bili sa supplier. Kaya lang Yusek Mirna, ngayong oras na to po, katatawag lang po ng aking head ng provincial hospital kasi nagpadala ko ng pera para bumili. Dala na po nila yung cartridges pa uwi galing Manila. Ang sabi po ng supplier ay hanggang ngayon hindi pa nag-replace ng order ang DOH ng cartridge for Gene Expert. Ito po mismo galing mismo po dun sa supplier. Just now, as in this morning, kinuha po namin yung sa amin. We were expecting that by April, sabi po ng DOH, makakatanggap na kami. Pero kung hanggang ngayong oras pong ito, sabi ng supplier, hindi pa nag-place ng order, so ang ibig sabihin, hindi pa rin po dadating by April yung cartridges natin ni-expect for Gene Expert. Kung lagi po kay local government manggagaling yung cartridges, hindi naman po nare-reimburse namin sa PhilHealth kasi nung sinabi namin sa DOH ito, kailangan daw pong i-amend pa yung guidelines ni DOH para ito ay may reimburse namin sa PhilHealth. Kaya tama po yung sinasabi ni Governor Steve na hanggang ngayon po problema. How many months na po kami, mag-iisang taon na po kami gumagamit ng Gene Expert pero wala kami na-reimburse. Ngayon po, ilang buwan na, magdadalawang buwan na po na ang local government po ang bumibili ng aming cartridges. Hindi din po namin ito ma-reimburse. Can you imagine yung amount na
uubos ng local government for buying the cartridges, for operating the gene expert laboratory, and yet wala naman po kaming nakukuha kay PhilHealth. So, dalawang bagay yung Mirna. Una po sana, baka pwede pong ma-fast track ulit yung katulad dati yung pagbibigay nyo sa amin ng cartridges kasi ang laki pong tulong. Noon pong regular ang aming cartridges, napababa na po namin ang active cases po namin before Resolution 101, 7 na lang, 7. Simula po nung maubos ang cartridges na bigay ni DOH, dinadala na ulit namin sa RITM, sinabayan pa po ng Resolution 101, balik na po ulit kami sa 3 digits, 101 po kami kahapon. Can you imagine in 22 days, Yusik Mirna, from 7 to 101 active cases. 2 factors, relaxing of the requirements, and another one, lack of cartridges supplied by DOH. Kung ito po masasagot natin, at least yun man lamang cartridges, upon arrival sa port, matest namin agad, kita agad namin ang result after 1.5 hours. Tapos, kasi meron naman po kaming 2 hanggang 3 machine na gumagana. Ngayon yung concern po ng DOH na baka napapabayaan ng TB, hindi po kasi yung aming regional director ng DOH sa Mimaropa, in-ensure na yung aming gene expert machines dito sa Oriental Mindoro ay mahahati. May matitira for TB, may matitira po para sa RT-PCR testing sa COVID. So ang ibig sabihin, specific po yung usage ng aming machines. Isa na para sa talagang TB program at isa po para sa RT-PCR ng COVID. So sana po ma-address natin yung Mir. Natulong nyo na po. Ang hinihingi lang po namin, mabilis na arrival ng cartridges kasi hindi na din po kaya ni local government bumili kasi cash po ang hinihingi ng supplier. Hindi po napayag na PR or PO lang ang bitbit namin. Cash po. Pagkabigay ng cash, saka lang po sila magre-release. And second po, maamin ng guidelines para maisama po yung gene expert results sa mga marireimburse sa PhilHealth. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Gobons. Yusik Mira, can you say something? Yeah.
And then after
Yes,
Gov,
sir. In terms of the supply, I was told that magdi-deliver na ng second quarter. Ang through our PSDBM, nag-place na po ng supply. Baka it's the problem of the availability of supply. Pero ang sinabi po ng PSDBM, by beginning second quarter, meron ng delivery ng ating gene expert. Doon sa PhilHealth po, ang alam ko talaga, kasama siya. So we will again reiterate to PhilHealth, we will ask the Secretary to write PhilHealth na kailangan i-reimburse po sa PhilHealth itong gene expert. So yan lang po ang ipapromise ko na sabihin sa Secretary, and then we will give you the date of delivery of the gene expert second quarter. So that will be in April. Next month na po, dapat may delivery na, sir. Salamat po.
Okay, Gobons, is that okay? There will be a delivery in April.
Sana po.
sana
Sana po, Yusek, kasi sabi po ng supplier kanina, wala pa po na-place na order sa kanila for the second quarter.
Through PSDBM, sir. Through PSDBM.
Paki-follow up lang po. Paki-follow up lang po kasi mismo yung supplier ang may sabi kanina wala pa pong na-place na order. The supply is available as a matter of fact. Yung province po namin, nagbayad lang kami kaninang umaga, dala din po namin yung supply kaninang umaga. So ang ibig sabihin, pag binayaran ng cash, available po siya agad.
Sige, sir, i-check ko. Pero PSDBM says there will be delivery second quarter na process nila.
Saka ma'am, isa na lang ma'am comment on that. Sabi nga po ng pulmonologist namin, sa mga variants ngayon, ang pagkalat niya ay sobrang bilis. Ibig sabihin ma'am, any day of delay sa delivery ng ating mga testing kits will mean lives, will mean a lot of trouble. So let's take into consideration that what we are treating today is something that is spread so fast. Ibig sabihin po, yung second quarter kasi ma'am can start from April and up to June 30, that's second quarter. Ang ibig ma'am sabihin, kahit May mag-deliver, kahit June mag-deliver, that is still second quarter. Ma'am, what we are requesting as local chief executives is that if we in the local governments see the urgency of how to control our borders and how to control the entry of people and the movement, because the spread is so fast. Sana ma'am, ganun din natin sasabayan. I know that it's PSDBM that is purchasing. Baka naman ma'am pwedeng pakisabi o paki-advise na, ma'am, kung April 1st week of April madi-deliver, thank you. Pero kung ma'am, second quarter na walang specific date on second quarter, ma'am, that means lives on the local governments. That's my appeal, ma'am, personally. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Gombons, well said. Yusek Mayna, yes.
Si Gov Daniel
Sandy.
Fernando of Bulacan would like to raise a question.
Sandy.
Gov Dan
Sige.
Fernando po.
Okay, Gov Daniel, right.
Yes, Pangulo, magandang umaga po.
Gov Daniel, go ahead.
And sa ating mga kapwa governors, ano po, at sa ating DOH, of course, sa other national offices. Pangulo, tungkol po dun sa concern ni Governor Dolor. Well, actually, sa totoo lang po, nung unang dumating itong pandemic sa atin, talagang namumblema na tayo dito. At ang una nating ginawa ng Bulacan, yun nga pong gene expert. Well, totoo po yun, yung kay Governor Dolor na talagang kinakapos sa supply ng ginagamit doon sa cartridge, po sa gene expert. That's why nang dumating po itong Bayanihan Uno, ano po, ay itong DOH ay talagang sumuporta na tungkol dito sa molecular machines, ano po, mga gagamitin tungkol dito sa molecular lab. Well, kailangan po talaga ang bawat probinsya sa ngayon, although naintindihan naman natin, other provinces are talagang hirap po sa pagtatayo ng molecular because of the budget. But ito nga po dumating yung Bayanihan Uno, well, doon na natin inilagay yung pagtatayo ng molecular lab which is costing 12 million. Ano po? So, kasi hirap po talaga kami sa cartridge ng Gene Expert. At talagang mabilis po talaga si Gene Expert. Within 45 minutes nalalaman na agad. Ano po? Ganun yung magiging dating. At pag medyo marami, oras talaga. Pag marami nagpapatest. But ito nga po ay kung makakagawa talaga na ang lahat ng probinsya ay magkaroon ng molecular lab, much better para mabilis po tayo. Well, sa ngayon po talaga ang province of Bulacan ay dalawa po yung aming ginagamit, which is the Gene Expert and the molecular lab. Yun nga po, sinuportahan kami ng DOH dun sa machine, tungkol dun sa molecular lab, and the building ay sa provincial government. At ito nga po yung naging challenge ko sa mabilisang challenge dun sa ating engineering office, which is itinayo po namin ng 1 month yung building. Ano po? Kaya po mas maganda kung talagang masusuportahan ng ating national government yung mga other provinces na mga mahihirap na talaga namang wala talagang isusunod na pagpapagawa ng molecular lab. Much better po talaga kung all the provinces talaga ay merong molecular lab. At nung pa po nagsisimula itong pandemya, na-realize ko rin po sa regional task force na bawat region dapat meron talagang pagdadalhan ng swabbing. Dapat bawat region may molecular lab. At ito nga po, ginawa nitong si Director Cesar Casio ng Region 3 na ginawa nga po yung JBL na nalagyan naman po. At yung pong ating sinadjust ay natupad naman. Kaya lang talagang napupuno po dahil halos lahat doon din nagdadala. Kaya po nag-decide ang provincial government na magtayo kami ng sariling Gene Expert. Kaya po kung makapagtatnang ng sariling molecular lab. Kaya po kung makapagtatayo lahat ng province, my concern is talagang pong magiging mabilis ang aksyon natin tungkol dito. Kaya lang, ay may mga probinsya talagang kulang sa gipit at talagang maliit lang yung budget nila. But kung matutulungan tayo ng Department of Health or kung sino mang concerned, the national government regarding the infrastructure of molecular lab, ay mas magaan po para sa ating lahat. Well, kami tumataas po ngayon ng COVID, but nagiging mabilis naman ang pag-detect namin because of our 2 swab machines, swab laboratory. So yun po yun. So I suggest po na I think lumapit tayo doon sa mga walang molecular lab, lumapit tayo sa mga sa taas, sa national government, kung anong tulong may bibigay nila. Kasi po, sa totoo lang, yung niraise ni Governor Dolor kanina ay tungkol sa supplier. Talaga nagkakagipitan po ngayon. Nagkakaroon po ng kakapusan sa supply ng yung pong ginagamit sa Gene Expert. Yun po, talagang kinakapos po talaga. That's why nagtayo po kami talaga ng molecular lab. Pangtulong po, napakalaking tulong. Ano po? So yun lamang po yung concern ko. Kung matutulungan lahat yung probinsya, mas maganda. Magkaroon ng molecular. Thank you po.
Thank you, Gov. Daniel. And please percentages for the gene expert.
Gov Velasco, just for info, umalis na po si Yusek Domingo, nagpaalam po. May meeting po siya 11.
Okay, yeah.
Governor Steve Solot.
Yeah, he sent a message.
Okay po. Gov Solot is raising his hand.
Yeah,
Participation in
Gov Presley.
dialogue. Go ahead, Steve.
Ang tanong ko sana for FDA, no? Because kanina nabanggit na itong ivermectin, they will not approve drugs for animals, ang pagkasabi. Pero, you know, FDA US, this is an article from the NIH on Feb 11. Can I just read briefly? It says ivermectin is an FDA-approved anti-parasitic drug.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Go, we can hear you. Unstable po yung Wi-Fi ni Gov Velasco.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we can.
Okay, anyway, my question is on ivermectin. Nabanggit kanina na it is for animals, but according to the NIH, National Institute for Health, it is US FDA approved to treat malaria in people, to treat such diseases as scabies, helminthiasis. So can I ask the DOH and FDA to dig its heels in and try to really look at this drug as a possible like an assistance to COVID patients, kasi itong ivermectin, it's a protein blocker, so it's said to have to block the protein spikes in the COVID virus. I'll give you an example. Last week may kaibigan ako sa Manila. Siya ay isang frontliner worker, pero meron siyang mga testing, that antibody test that track IgM and IgG. So last week natamaan siya for the second time COVID. Ang viral load niya umingcrease from 2.5 naging 4.3. Ang bilis in 24 hours. So ang cocktail na ininom niya is ivermectin and azithromycin, the antibiotic, and in 24 hours, close to 48 hours, he was able to notice his viral load drop from 4.3 to 1.5. So, you know, we don't know if this is the cause of ivermectin, but a lot of people have been using it. So I think it's the DOH instead and the FDA, instead of saying na hindi kasi panghayop yan o ano, I mean, I think you need to dig in and try to really find out if it's working. Kay it's been around since the 70s. They've been giving this drug for bulate, for parasitics in Africa and different areas. Kung gumagana pala dito sa atin at marami tayong available stock, it might be a game changer for us, ma'am and sir. And the reason why I bring this up for the FDA and DOH, kay kami sa LGU, wala naman kaming capacity na mag-research niyan. Thank you, sir, ma'am.
Thank you, Gov. Steve. That's correct. Actually, we made representations already to USEC Leopoldo Vega when we had that meeting last time. And your request is very valid. I do hope that the FDA, at its own initiative, should really conduct a study and evaluation of this drug right away, even without waiting for any application. So, okay, we will make representations to Secretary Duque and FDA DG Eric Domingo on this, no? That they should consider the drug for possible treatment of COVID-19, even without any company applying for it, okay? So that's a very good point, Gov. Steve. Thank you very much. At unfortunately, Yusek Eric left for a very important meeting. But we will relay it to him and we'll make an official position on this. Thank you so much, Gov. Steve. Sandy, sino ba ang next? Sandy? Sandy? Sandy?
Yes,
Sandy?
Gob, Yusek Mirna,
Yusek Mirna,
on
would like to say something?
ivermectin, may
Yes.
initial review na po tungkol sa ivermectin. We are going to share it here in the chat box, but we will also relay the need to further study because our experts are saying it is not recommended, but we will need to study. Nandito po yung official na statement ng DOH, sir.
Go ahead.
Governor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe we can
Yeah,
confirm.
Yusek Mirna.
Nawala po si Yusek. Baka we can
Ano ba
confirm with Yusek Kabotahe regarding the DOH memo on the recall of the AstraZeneca vaccine, unused AstraZeneca vaccines from LGUs. Kung meron na
We can
meron
ask
kasi
that.
silang issue na memo. Number
Yusek
20.
Mirna, I had a talk, as I said, with Secretary Duque, and he said upon the recommendation of Secretary Galvez, they will not recall anymore the AstraZeneca vials already in the custody of the different local government units. But it will be better if there will be an official position, an advisory from DOH to clarify this matter. But as per Secretary Duque, he will not retrieve the AstraZeneca vaccines from the LGUs to whom it was distributed already. Yusek Mirna? Sandy, I think
Yes
we have a
po.
difficulty with the connectivity.
I posted the DOH memo 2021-0137 in the chat box. It says
Okay.
there the recalling the unused AstraZeneca vaccines from the LGUs and use it here sa NCR for vaccination due to the spike. Yusek, can we request you to comment on the recall of that memo?
Yusek, Mirna.
Yes, Gob, the initial issuance, we are going to amend it, was to fast track jabbing kasi natatagalan yung jabbing. So if only you make a threat that ipupull out, mabilisan na po yung mga nag-implement kasi some are taking their time. But yes, we will issue sana mabilisan din po yung mga ibang concern na sayang the vaccines have been there but they are not being used. That was the main intention of the Secretary. But we will issue an amendment na hindi na kukunin. Basta siguro dawin naman na ma-deliver kaagad. Ang importante yung immediacy of the implementation. Yes, sir, we will do that.
Thank you, Yusek. One query is whether the second can already be used as a first dose. Is that possible? And then as long as you can assure us that there will be a supply of AstraZeneca vaccines for the second dose. Is that possible? That so that we can expedite the vaccination in different LGUs, that the LGUs already make use of the vials for the second dose. Is that possible for AstraZeneca? Yusek? Did you hear me? Narinig ba ako,
Kasi
Sandy?
yung unused vaccines na nire-reserve for the second dose kasi talaga po dapat yun eh.
Hindi, kaya nga. But actually, the plan of DOH is to make use of the available vaccines for the second dose, which are in the possession of the LGU. They will bring it to the NCR. If they are able to do that, and that they will not recall it anymore, then I'm suggesting that we can already make use of the vaccines for the second dose. Yusek Mirna, do you hear me? Yusek Mirna? Yusek
Sir,
Mirna.
Sir Chapika, but ang pagkaintindi ko po, dalawang option yan sa remaining second dose. Unang-una po, hindi natin, we are now retrieving the second dose and making them first dose. Kasi may commitment naman po ang COVAX na sigurado nang may second dose na, may second batch na dadating. So that will account for the second dose of the AstraZeneca that will be given sometime late May or June. So may enough time to push the COVAX to really give us the second dose. Ngayon po, dalawang strategy sa mga remaining doses sa LGU. Pwede pong ibigay nila sa remaining priority o mag-share sila sa mga area nila para mabakunahan yung first priority. Pero kung nahihirapan sila, pwedeng i-reallocate. Pero sabi nga doon sa reallocation, kasi may move noon na because of the surge in NCR, bigyan sana ng focus ang NCR para mabakunahan majority dito sa NCR. At as you have mentioned, because of the problems in retrieval, yung mga complexity, it will already kept at the LGU level to vaccinate yung mga susunod na mga priority group nila. Basta mabilisan lang po, wag naman nahintayin hanggang next month para maubos itong vaccine na ito. And of course, they prioritize po yung mga health worker. Yun lang po.
So, Yusek Mirna, for clarification, yung mga vaccines intended for the second dose ay pwede nang gamitin as first dose doon sa ibang priority groups. Tama ba yon? Pwede, okay? And then the supply for the second dose is guaranteed. There's an assurance that we will get the vaccines for the second dose. Okay. Thank you, Yusek Mirna. Very good. And lastly, if kung ganito ho, yung first group, yung health workers, no? Yung iba ay ayaw pang magpabakuna for one reason or another. Pwede na nang gamitin yung available vaccine sa susunod na kategory, yung indigent senior citizens. At kung ayaw pa nung iba, gagamitin na sa susunod. Pwede na ho. Okay, may flexibility tayo. Okay, very good. So may iba pang tanong kay Yusek Mirna. Do you have any other question?
Governor, on the inclusion of the local chief executives in the priority list, siguro we can ask.
Well, Yusek Mirna, we were told that yung local chief executives, the governors, and then is in the category 4. They will be entitled to the vaccine as category 4, group 1, no? Right? Okay. Yeah, Yusek Mirna is saying, the local chief executives can be vaccinated as a part of the category 4. Category 4 of group 1. Okay? So there will be the health workers, number 1. Number 2, indigent senior citizens. Number 3, the remaining senior citizens. The 4th, the uniformed personnel and the local chief executives. Okay?
Yung person comorbidity.
Pato tayong sign language. Sige po, Yusek Mirna, okay na po. May mga tanong pa ba from the other governors?
Sir, dadagdagan ko lang kasi ano na connection. Kung senior citizen yung local chief executive, di maaangat siya, wag niya siyang maghintay ng A4. Pag may mga comorbidity o health worker, nandun po siya sa mas taas. Ganun po yung priority po. Thank you.
Okay. So that's clear. If the local chief executive is a senior citizen, you'll be the second priority in category 2, right? Category 2. That's very clear. Mga matanda dyan, katulad ni Governor Velasco, pwede na magpabakuna. Sige, Yusek Mirna, rest assured na we will expedite, no? The vaccination. And actually, nagpaparapol pa nga ho kami para magpabaksinate eh. And we would like to inform the local chief executives, the governors, that Secretary Duque requested if we can finish the vaccination by Wednesday, March 24. Para ho tapos na kaagad yung vaccination and to prevent yung possible damage or spoilage ng vaccines. Ano ho? So he's requesting, Secretary is requesting that we vaccinate and make use of the doses provided to us on or before Wednesday, March 24. Pakibilisan lang daw po. Okay, mga governors, may tanong pa tayo kay Yusik Mirna. Meron pa ko itatanong?
Gov. Evardone, and then
Si Gov. Ben. Okay, go ahead, Gov. Ben. Padre, go ahead. Gov. Ben, you can come in.
Yusek, totoo ba yung nabasa ko sa, good morning po, totoo ba yung nabasa ko sa newspaper na mayroong mga bishop na bakunahan? Ang rason daw po is to encourage people to to have the confidence of the public. Tama po ba 'yon? Kasi dalawang bishop, I don't think they are frontliners.
Yusik Mirna, go ahead. Can you hear us?
Sir, sa COVAX kasi, AstraZeneca, donated ito ng COVAX, hindi po natin binili. Tapos may warning po sa atin na bigyan po according to our priority framework. Kasi imo-monitor yan. May pronouncement po si Sec. Charlie. Ngayon kung as influencers at yung iba, baka hindi po, kasi baka imo-monitor ho tayo ng WHO at saka yung nag-donate sa atin, hindi natin binibigay sa ating priority. Yun lang po ang pan. May statement din si Sec. Charlie to prioritize yung mga priority group, especially with AstraZeneca po.
I am nothing against yung pag-vaccinate ng mga pero inamin na ho nila na nabakunahan ho nila dahil nga ho para daw magkaroon ng tiwala ang taong bayan. Kung dapat hong ganun, dapat unahin yung mga cabinet members, governors, mayors, ganun. Yung iba nga ho ayaw magpabakuna dahil sabi nila, kayo munang mauna, go. Bakit kami? Ganun. Parang hindi ho maganda sa natin. Tapos secondly, ano ho ang sanction nung ganon? Yung mga LGUs na napupunta sa iba, hindi na sumusunod sa priority list. Wala ho mangyayari sa vaccination program natin kung kanya-kanya ho tayo, we will not follow the
Yusik Mirna. Yusik Mirna, hindi yata narinig, Gov. Ben Yusik Mirna, hello. So
Yes,
you're
sir.
saying
Accountability yan nung they are extracting it as accountability of the head of the facility, yung chief of hospital, because they are depriving other health workers from being vaccinated. But as of now, iniisip pa din natin kung ano po yung mga penalty. Pero ngayon siguro, friendly reminder lang muna, tapos konsensyahin natin that by giving non-priority, you are depriving the priority healthcare workers who are also waiting for the vaccine.
Meron din ho kaming Yusek, meron din ho kaming case sa Eastern Samar. Pumunta ho kami sa isang, kasi tapos na ho kami sa mga public hospitals. May isang private hospital, ang asawa ng isang doktora doon, binakunahan nila. Dahil engineer daw ho, madalas bumisita doon sa facility, sabi ko hindi justified yun. Kaya pina-show cause order yung sabi ko doon sa mayor, pa-show cause order yung natin yung hospital na yan, private hospital. Bakit lumalabag sila doon sa guidelines ng listings? Hindi ho ba? Kaya yun ho siguro ang dapat bantayan natin.
To write, yes sir, our regional directors to write based on the reports that they are receiving.
Sige, salamat po Yusek. Salamat Mr. President.
Governor Kua is raising his hand, Gov. Gov Kua, go ahead.
Yes, Yusek Mirna, gusto ko lang pong segundahan yung sinabi ni Gov Ben na maganda po sanang masunod yung mga criteria na naiset ng NITAG. In fact, that if you remember, that is also embedded in the Vaccine Procurement Act recently signed by the President. So susundin talaga dapat yung prioritization, Yusek Mirna. Siguro naman, Gov Ben, yung mga obispo, malaking pag-asa na senior citizens naman siguro sila. Pero yun po, dapat mauna mga doktor at nurses. Pero baka naman yung obispo bilang senior, baka pwede naman dun sila pumasok. But Yusek Mirna, my comment and question is really, maglalambing ako sa iyo para i-follow up yung aking concern about third-party logistics providers and the integration of their IT solution, for example, yung EasyVax into the DICT solution so that those with third-party logistics providers can be put up to speed. Yusek Mirna.
Go ahead.
Dax, alam ko may na-draft na nasulat. Si Yusek Carol ang magpipirma. Dated ng, ano ba ngayon? March 19. So it should be on its route. Pero naka-inventory na po kami. Kayo lang ang may third party na province. Tapos dun sa NCR na po yung iba, may mga apat. So magti-training na po. But kinausap ko na rin yung DICT. Sabi nila pwede namang ayusin yan. So the response of Yusek Carol is already on its way. Tatawagin na lang ko, makiki-coordinate na lang sa third-party logistics na para mag-training.
Okay, kailan po kaya yung communication, Yusek Mirna? And who do we, si Yusek Carol ba kami mangungulit?
Kay Yusek Carol kasi siya po ang sa council, I facilitated it po. Tapos may reply na siya March 19 pa date. Nakita ko na yon. Follow up ko na lang, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you po. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chairman Dax. Yusek Mirna, can I have a question? No? Can I ask you a question? Suppose private companies donate to the LGUs. So that's okay, right? Yusek Mirna? Yusek Mirna?
Yes, sir. Part of the supply agreement, yung sa tripartite, dapat magdo-donate yung private to the national government. Pero although hindi pa nakasulat yung specific guidelines, ang request ng private companies, they donate it to the government where they are. So i-follow up ko na lang yan po kay Sec Charlie kung ano yung nandoon sa specific supply agreements, sir. But tama kayo, they can donate, the private sector is supposed to donate 50% to the government, and ang request nila, preferably to the local government where they are.
Right. Regarding the vaccines donated by private companies, is it possible if the LGU will be given some discretion in the use of the vaccines on the different categories in the same group, priority group? Because, you know, for example, category 1, not all of them want to be vaccinated away. They have some vaccines that they want, no? Some particular vaccine. So the LGU should have a discretion to give it to the second category or third category para mabilis eh. Sometimes it's so difficult to convince the persons covered by the higher rank categories. So with the exception of the vaccines coming from COVAX, I think the LGUs should be given the flexibility in the application of or the use of the vaccines to the persons covered by the different categories. Para kung yung una ay ayaw pa ho nung iba at nagtatagal, yung iba meron ho nagdi-defer pa, they'll think about it. So we can immediately go to the second category and down the line. Anyway, the idea is we will just furnish DOH the names of the persons already vaccinated. May master list naman po kami. So it will always be LGU that will implement the vaccination. Basta same priority group like group 1 or group A. Basta bahala no kami dumaskarte. Basta alam mo namin yung mga preference. Of course, health workers, talagang gustong-gusto namin yan. But actually, dun sa prioritization nyo, we feel that yung mga uniform police, yung personnel, yung mga police, army, yung mga barangay, ganyan ho. Gusto sana naming mauna kaysa doon sa ibang senior citizens We should have the flexibility also with respect to vaccines bought by the LGUs and vaccines donated by private companies. Sana ho you can allow us some discretion in the use of the vaccines and the application of the vaccines to the different categories in the same group. Yusik Mirna, baka, hello?
Yes, sir. This was discussed in the meeting with Sec Charlie and Sec Vince with the private sector kanina, and they will look at the figures and they will talk with NITAG within the week para yung sinasabi nyo, just in case wag na natin hintayin yung matapos yung first priority, kung ayaw na nila, you go to the next priority pag sabay-sabayin. Discuss na yan, sir. So we are meeting the group of Sec Charlie is meeting with the NITAG before the weekends and discuss this po. Thank you.
Si Gobro dito ha sa question. Si ating gwapong gobernador. Go ahead.
Mas gwapo ka, Mr. President. Mahal lang ako sa iyo. Mr. President, good morning everybody. We agree with our President na dapat may discretion kami kasi pera namin ito Tapos yung mga private sectors, di ba, may discretion din sila doon sa vaccines nila Kasi tandaan nyo, pera namin ito. So sana bigyan nyo kami ng discretion at saka hindi naman kami basta-basta magbibigay nito nang wala rin sa priority ng DOH. Siyempre nakakaya din po sa ating mga kababayan kung kani-kanino lang namin ibibigay. Siyempre uunahin talaga namin yung mga kailangan mauna. But ibigay nyo naman sa amin yung sole discretion ito. Kasi unang-una, Mr. President, pera natin po ito Hindi naman nila pera ito So, sa ganun pa lang, huwag na sana kami madiktahan dito. Basta bigyan nyo na lang kami ng guidelines. Tapos doon sa guidelines na yun, kami nang bahala magpatakbo. Total naman hindi ko alam kung kasama ito doon sa pagkukukuha, Mr. President. May provision ba ito na kukuhain tayo? Ikukuha tayo rito? Yun lang gusto ko may tanong. Subject ba doon sa mga kuha requirements para at least baka naman kaya tayo hindi makapagbigay ng mga vaccine. Baka mamaya makuha rin tayo dito na kung kani-kanino lang natin ibibigay. Basta bigyan lang nila tayo ng 1, 2, 3 na ito kung pwede mabigyan. At sana man lang makiusap naman sila na hindi naman parang dinidiktahan tayo rito kasi pera naman natin to, Mr. President. Yun lamang po.
Okay, thank you. Very good. That well said. So, Yusik Mena, we expect that the LGUs be given some discretion in the use of the vaccines, especially the vaccines that we buy with our own money, with the LGUs money, and those donated to us by the private companies. Yun sa COVAX, definitely, we will strictly follow that. I'm sure yung mga bishops, if ever nabakunahan yan, baka nga senior citizen, there must be a good reason why they were allowed to be vaccinated. So, meron pa kayong ibang mga question kay Yusik Mirna? We're eagerly awaiting the participation of CABSEC Karlo Nograles. May ibang tanong pa ho sa governors kay Yusik Mirna? Kung wala na ho, Sandy, wala pa si CABSEC, Karlo Nograles?
Mr. President.
Sige, go, Rodito.
Mr. President, kailan ba talaga darating yung vaccine? Ang dami na natin order at saka ano ito umaasa na po yung ating mga kababayan na kinukulit na po tayo. Dapat bigyan nila tayo ng at least may definitive schedule or answer dun sa kung kailan darating yung vaccine. Kasi kami tayo yung napapaano rito tayo yung napapahiya, Mr. President.
Yes, we will follow up with the suppliers. Pero ito yata ang AstraZeneca and some LGUs already entered into supply agreements with them. I think darating na yung AstraZeneca, no? For those who already signed, dumating na ba?
May
Sige,
dumating na po. Mr. President, may mga dumating na po sa DOH ng mga AstraZeneca. Hindi ko lang alam kung...
Hindi, sa COVAX yan eh. Sa COVAX yata yung gobro dito eh. Yung iba pa yung...
Mr. President, meron kaming AstraZeneca dito sa DOH. Meron pa sabi nga ni Secretary Duque na kung ano yung may iwan kung ano yung hindi magagamit, iiwanan daw sa mga LGUs.
Well, usually sa COVAX talagang I think dinidistribute yan to all provincial governments eh. So basta galing sa COVAX. But for those LGUs who entered into supply agreements with the suppliers using their own money, with the money of the LGUs, yun yata we're still awaiting the arrival of this supply of AstraZeneca vaccines. Ewan ko kung merong latest info dyan sa inyo. Bob Dax, Chairman Dax, may supply ng AstraZeneca? Meron na ba? Dax?
You're correct, Mr. President. Yung dumadating po ay galing sa COVAX, yung mga donation. Yung mga po natin, GovRod, ay dadating po yan ng mga July daw. Yan ang update sa atin. But Mr. President, I want you to know lang that our friend CAPSEC Karlo is already in our meeting.
Okay. All right. Okay, we welcome CAPSEC Karlo Nograles. CAPSEC Karlo, good morning ho. At thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Karlo tuloy. CAPSEC.
Hi, good morning Gov. Thank you for inviting at sa lahat ng mga gobernador na nandito ngayon. I guess na si DG Domingo, galing na rin daw siya dito. And I think si Yusek Mirna is from DOH is still here. So thank you for inviting. At I'm here to answer kung may mga questions na gusto yung tanungin.
Yeah. Sige po, si Karlo, you issued Reso 102, no? March 11, 2021. Now, in said Reso, merong mga adjustments yung amendments na ginawa. We note that on the level of the individuals, and I'm referring to letter A, nadagdag yung observe distancing and proper ventilation. Ano ba what do you mean by proper ventilation? Is that in the house, in the business establishment, or the parang building or whatever? Yung proper ventilation, what do you mean by that?
Actually siguro para may context lang po tayo,
Go ahead.
Mr. President and Chairman and all of the governors in the call, no? Siguro para lang may context. Alam niyo naman na ever since this battle against COVID-19, there was always that struggle, question mark kumbaga, on whether or not COVID is airborne. So laging may struggle yan. There's always kumbaga droplets ba ito? Because anecdotally, meron din po may mga scientists also who are saying that there's the possibility of micro droplets, there's the possibility of it being airborne, although hindi pa definite yung science. So just to be on the safe side, ito na nga po yung panawagan, although the WHO and some other doctors and epidemiologists and whatever do not want to commit to the or put a final kumbaga conclusive stand that this is airborne. Ang panawagan na lang, just to be on the safe side, is that for all establishments, public and private, to put the proper ventilation and siguro at the back of our heads, treat it as airborne. Para lamang, while wala pang definite science at hindi pa conclusive, we have to do everything para tumigil na yung pagkalat at para safe po ang lahat. So I think without that definite stand na airborne siya, let's all just treat it as airborne. Parang ganun yung context po, Gob.
So, paano ho pag tinanong kami, si Karlo, ng mga aming mga municipal mayors and barangay captains and police, paano ba daw yung application ng proper ventilation? Kung halimbawa ba, naka-aircon, bubuksan namin yung pinto o bintana at may ventilador ba ho yun? Or is it in the engineering control? Paano ba yun? Kasi we have to explain this to our people there.
Let me get the proper the proper what they call these guidelines or points that are being is being used as basis ng DTI and DOLE, because DTI and DOLE is the one that is properly guiding yung private sector in terms of ventilation, in terms of yung how to pati yung but hindi lang saan i-face yung electric fan na kailangan bukas yung window, at hindi lang dun sa yung air purifiers or air itong mga gadgets na ito, di ba? But also, so meron silang mga guidelines na sinusundan for the private sector. May specific po. And I'll try to get the joint memorandum circular at yung mga guidelines na ginagamit ng DOLE DTI for private companies. I think I saw yung taga DOH raising her hand. Baka meron siyang ma-contribute, Gob.
Sige po, sino yun?
Kita ko taga DOH. Ito si Nika How.
Okay.
Ay, dito si
Okay,
Nika.
Nika.
Diba to?
Nika How, yeah.
Nika How.
Go ahead, Nika.
Apo, Capsec, I'm just letting you and the governors know that we are actually going to be releasing more detailed ventilation guidelines. And that is coming po in the next days. We'll also give po siguro the secretariat once it's signed para available po for further reference. But offhand, tama naman po yung sinabi ni Governor Velasco no, na outdoor is considered good ventilation as long as there is natural exposure to the natural light. And then for those that are indoor, meron po kasing recent guidance on ano yung dapat na it's very technical, parang per minute na ano, and we will be including that po in the guidance. Thank you po.
Nika, excuse me. Pati ba dun sa bahay, will that be included? Dun sa mga dwelling places, houses, yung proper ventilation, will that be covered by the guidelines that will be issued?
Sige po, we'll make sure po to include guidance po at home. Most likely po it will also reflect the input na it has to allow for natural airflow. Sige, noted po. Thank you, Doc.
Yung reducing time of interaction, excuse me, si Karlo, baka tanong ko na lang kay Nika, no, ha? Ano ba yung time of interaction na permissible? Mga 30 minutes, gano'n. Kasi we have to tell our people, what does this mean ba? The time of interaction, 30 minutes ba? After that, you stop the conversation or the activity? Is that correct or what?
So in our definitions po of a close contact, we use 15 minutes as a marker. So any interaction face-to-face, unprotected po ito, especially unprotected for 15 minutes is already considered a close contact. But when we communicate this din po, we always say that the less exposure is always the better. So if it's not urgent, to do it not face-to-face. No? But usually there is added protection if it's a longer distance, a shorter interval, you're wearing masks, you have dividers, no? So those could be added protections po. But what will qualify po as the official definition of a close contact is unprotected 15-minute face-to-face exposure. So kaya po usually ang close contacts natin mga kasama sa bahay. Thank you po.
And also Nika, regarding contact tracing, no, doon sa establishments, ano, sorry, Capsec, no, I'll just ask directly Nika. You will also provide guidelines for establishments regarding contact tracing, because right now not all establishments have assigned a particular person to specifically handle contact tracing eh. Pwede ba yung guidelines nyo will cover that? Kasi nakikita namin wala talaga sa contact tracing yung mga establishments eh.
Yes. So actually the guidelines po will look like PDITR, but in the scope po of a workplace or of a business establishment. So part po dun sa detect yung contact tracing. But what we actually are highlighting po here is ang mas important po na surveillance and contact tracing is the one that is inside your institution. So kunyari sa workers mo, sa lahat ng mga ano po. Kasi basically, we assume din po our visitors skin renew appropriately, may nakamask. So the risk na sila yung nahawa or nakahawa is less than actually the risk of the people that are within the institution. But well noted po, and we'll make sure that these are included po in our interim guide. Currently naman po, we have some details about it.
And can we also suggest that probably the company can just appoint specifically a person as a COVID-19 officer in charge, no? Talaga may specific person whose task is really to see to it that these health standards are followed. Baka pwedeng isama rin, ano ha? Thank you, Nika. We'll go back to Capsec, Karlo. Pasensya na, Sec Karlo, ha? Oo.
Yes, Gov.
Another
Actually,
question,
yung sa establishments, Gov, yung kailangan may safety officer. So usually it's a safety officer ng establishment ang dapat nakatutok sa COVID. But of course, nothing will stop establishment from also appointing a separate COVID-19 expert or officer. Tama po yun.
Okay. Another query here. You said in Reso 102, on the part of the LGUs, kailangan we have to mobilize the BHERTs, no? The Barangay Health Emergency Response Teams. And then they're required to actively look for the all suspect cases. And then once they identify, they'll be tested with RT-PCR and then isolated within 24 hours of detection. Medyo we will right away find na baka pa yung mga lalawigan na wala namang molecular laboratory. Kaya nga ito naman, bumabalik yung suggestion namin na ito ba pwede namin gamitin yung antigen test kit dito sa mga makikitang suspect cases ng birds dito sa barangay. Hindi ba yun, Sec Karlo?
Yes.
Kasi nakalagay RT-PCR lang eh. Yeah.
Opo. If I may refer to the DOH officials who are here in the call, ang alam ko ang napagkasunduan po namin sa IATF na in localities where RT-PCR is not readily available and meron pong transmission ng COVID-19 on the ground, then yes, an antigen is allowed.
Good. Thank you. And then
kasi we understand sa mga localities po, sa mga localities na hindi naman lahat, especially municipalities, far-flung areas, hindi naman lahat ay may RT-PCR. Opo, ganun po yung protocol natin. While RT-PCR is a gold standard in terms of areas na may community transmissions and kailangan po ma-detect pag hindi po available ang RT-PCR in those cases an antigen that has been given an approval ng FDA is allowed po under those circumstances lang po.
All right. Yun lang ano no, they are required to isolate within 24 hours. Ang worry lang namin dito baka sa dami nung suspect at saka yung mga close contacts ma-overwhelm agad. But anyway, that's a responsibility of the LGU no, regarding the isolation of this person. But this is the correct procedure kasi the moment they are suspect cases, they should already be quarantined no, and subjected to PCR test, or if not available, antigen. Yung another
Opo,
point
I just
here,
like to
yung
qualify
nakalagay,
po, yung antigen gov is not the final test ha. I just like to,
yes,
kailangan pa
yes.
rin po ng confirmatory ng RT-PCR because it's still the gold standard po, yung RT-PCR.
Right. Yes. That's what we usually do on the part of the LGUs, like what was explained by Governor Philip Tan a while ago. We subject them to antigen, and if positive, we quarantine and subject them to PCR test. Okay? So that's what how we make use of the antigen. If negative, they'll be put under active surveillance by the barangay officials and the BHERTs. So close monitoring naman sila ng mga BHERTs. Yung another clarification here, you're saying on the part of the LGU, they're supposed to ensure proper handover of returning overseas Filipinos and incoming travelers. Ano yung proseso na yun? Like for example, yung OFWs dumating. Okay yung overseas Filipinos, mga atin yan Pero yung mga international travelers, ang dami nun how do we go about this? That there will be a proper handover to the LGUs. Letter F, number 3, page 2 ng Reso 102. You mean to tell me that concern ng lahat ng LGUs yung mga international travelers? What do you mean by handover?
Kasi if you remember, Gov, naalala ninyo, for returning overseas Filipinos, meron tayong 7-day rule, di po ba? So sa 7 days na dapat nandun sila sa isolation facility, accredited, at on the 6th day, isa-swab namin para malaman kung positive or negative. Kung negative naman po, they are supposed to be hand over to the LGUs of destination nila for the remaining 7 days para makompleto po yung 14-day quarantine niya. So, for instance, naka 7 days na siya sa isolation sa Manila, sa isang hotel sa Manila, isang isolation facility, negative siya, pero ang final destination niya siya po ay taga Marinduque, sabihin natin. Then dapat may proper coordination para dun sa pagdating niya sa final destination, which is Marinduque, may proper handover sa inyo, and dapat ma-ensure na Marinduque LGU na makumpleto niya ang remaining days para ma-complete yung 14 days.
Kabsek, ano ba yan? Applicable pa rin ba hanggang ngayon yan, considering yung quarantine has been removed by Reso 101?
Yung quarantine na ni-remove po ng resolution na yon is only for domestic travelers. Pero pagdating po sa returning overseas Filipinos, the quarantine has to continue for the next 7 days. Basta makompleto niya lang yung 14 days niya. Apo.
Okay. How about the incoming international travelers? These are not returning overseas Filipinos. So, upon arrival at the airport here in NCR, ano ba sila? Pina-quarantine pa ba sila?
Yes.
Or what I know is that under Reso 101, the LGU has the discretion to require them to have RT-PCR test done outside the province. Then they bring their certificate to the LGU of destination, and they have to present that upon arrival. But itong international travelers, hindi yata namin to pwedeng i-quarantine na by reason of Reso 101. Ano kaya? How do we apply this?
The same po. They're the same category as returning overseas Filipinos because they're all coming from outside. So these are all incoming passengers from outside the country. So the same protocol din po, whether international travelers na foreigners or Filipinos returning from overseas, they belong to the same category. Meaning to say 7-day rule, 6-day yung swab, pag negative, kung saan yung LGU of destination nila, dapat kumpletuhin po nila yung remaining days to complete the 14 days. So that's for foreigners and Filipinos from abroad.
Okay, so we're clarified with that. Itong Reso 103, these are more particularly the suspension of the entry of foreign nationals, ano?
Apo.
Itong sa letter B. Oo. And then, so you modified certain measures lang sa GCQ, no, until April 4. So parang yun lang, sinuspend mo yung mga driving schools, etc., tourist attractions, mga libraries, museums. And then, naging lang to, yung mga meetings, naging 30%. Ito lang naman to, no, parang na-decrease lang yung capacity. And then, wala nang, yung venue, naging dine-in, no? This applies to other LGUs, no? But not to NCR and the 4 provinces. Itong 103. There are still some provinces under GCQ which are not those covered under 104.
Yes.
Kasi sa 104 mo is Cavite, Batangas, Laguna, Bulacan, and Laguna.
Rizal.
Now, itong Reso 103 applies to other provinces under GCQ. Lumalabas ngayon.
Yes,
No?
opo.
Tama ba yung Cabsec?
That's correct.
So,
That's correct.
minodify lang ito. Like cockfighting and cockpit operations, doon sa mga GCQ, I think, ano ba yung mga Lanao del Sur, Davao del Norte, ewan ko yung Batangas. Batangas still under GCQ yata, Parang ganun pa rin yata, I think.
So.
At saka yun sa Mountain Province yata, yung ilan doon, like Kalinga, Apayao, at saka yung
yes,
mga ilan doon.
Yes, but we'll come up with the new community quarantines for April po. But that's
meron din sa April.
Opo, every month naman po. So we'll probably be meeting about that soon because we need to already announce the general community quarantines per region and province before April 1. So malamang mag-announce kami niyan by either March 31 or March 30 po.
Okay. So Reso 104 issued last Saturday only applies only to NCR, Pateros, yung Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, and Rizal, Kami hindi naman kami affected. Pero ang nakikita naming effect sa amin is because of the more stringent systems being applied here sa NCR and the 4 provinces. Marami talagang aalis diyan at pupunta doon sa mga ibang provinces na namin So we
hindi naman po kasi nag-start na siya today, March 22. So we'll be very very strict po sa lalabas doon sa subject area. Hindi yan basta-basta unless ma-prove nga nila na essential yung travel.
Yeah, I had a talk with Mayor Edwin Olivares just this morning, no? And I tried to paano ba yung proseso natin dito pag nag-lockdown? Like granular lockdown, he's saying na naka-lockdown yung isang bloke doon sa barangay or the entire barangay, and then they do extensive contact tracing, di ba? Tapos yun yata yung sinasubject nyo sa testing. Yung bang strategy na yung all the persons in the area covered by the granular lockdown, hindi ba pwedeng i-mass testing lahat just to find out sino talaga doon yung yung positive at saka hindi? Kasi yung contact tracing in some areas hindi naman ganun ka-effective . More so in other provinces, Kasi mahihina yung contact tracers lalo doon. At saka, sometimes yung mga taong na-expose, hindi nila sinasabi, they don't cooperate eh. So, sabi nga ni Mayor Magalong, hindi nakaatin yung ideal na dami ng persons na dapat ma-trace o ma-identify. So they're suggesting, ito na naman yung gamit ng mas cheaper at mas mabilis na testing eh. Like for example, yung isang area, sinaran. Hindi ba, instead of trying to identify only those exposed persons doon sa area, hindi ba pwedeng mass testing na lang? At saka yung positive, ihiwalay doon sa meron bang strategy na ganyan that we have tried?
I am aware of some LGUs po na pag nagla-lockdown po sila dun sa isang street or sa usually street level ang lockdown eh. They do the active surveillance po. So it's more than just symptoms checking but nagte-testing po sila. But these are LGUs that have the capability to do yung mga testing na malawakan na ganyan. Capability meaning kasi gagastusin mo yun eh. You have to spend for that. So depende sa kakayahan ng LGU po. Because ang call ngayon ng IATF at ng DOH is active surveillance na nga po eh. And it's really up to the initiative po ng local chief executive. Because I know of some well-to-do cities, yung urban cities dito sa Metro Manila na may kaya naman. They go as far as testing talaga. Doon pag nag-lockdown sila ng street, nagte-test po talaga sila.
So you're saying Sec Karlo na all the people there in that area subject of the lockdown are subjected to test to determine who are really the positive. Parang ganun ang experience. Parang I read that nga in the papers eh. Pero what is the result of that? Effective ba yung ganun? That all the people there are subjected to testing? Ano daw ang resulta nun?
Naging parang naging mixed po eh. Because yung kasi this is over the course of 1 year na eh. So nung una, nung wala pa silang mga swab, they would do rapid test. But they discovered nga that the rapid test is not that accurate. Maraming nami-miss out. So if you do naman RT-PCR, it's a balance. Masyadong mahal. It cannot be, you cannot test the whole street kasi magkano yan per. So masyado ring mahal. So parang over the course of the year, they've been trying to see ano ba yung most cost-effective at most efficient way to do it. So it's really a mix of contact tracing. First of all, sarado mo talaga, an active surveillance has to do with contact tracing, interviewing. Pag symptomatic po, kailangan maswab. And then that's now, if you look at our new protocols now sa active surveillance, na heighten na sa NCR. So mean to say, pag suspects pa lang, isolate mo na talaga. And then swab. And then kahit while waiting for the test results, kasi it might take 24 to 48 hours, in the meantime, kailangan naka-isolate na yung suspected. And when I say suspected, I mean may symptoms eh. And then, ang ginagawa ngayon is close contact tracing ng suspect kahit po wala pa yung test result. So, ganun na po ka-active ang ginagawa dito sa NCR.
That's a good strategy. Oo. Pero yung sa mga taong involved dito sa anti-COVID, have they determined kung ano yung cause of infection ng mga naging positive na? Yung where they got it, kung paano nakuha, anong place nila nakuha, are they residents of densely populated areas, yung ganon? Do we have a study on that? Yung how they were infected? What's the the cause of the infection. May study dyan. Sana we can be furnished with that kasi we also want to know yung experience, yung mga results ng ganyang studies.
So we'll try to get the real data or studies or findings ng DOH, no. But just to provide you a clearer picture, mga Gob, ang napansin talaga namin two places of transmission, no. Workplace and homes. Workplace and homes. Kaya sumipa ng ganun kataas po is because hindi ka lang nag-infect ng isa eh. It's not one per community or per setting. Nagkakaroon ka ng 2 or 3 per setting. Kaya sumipa ng ganun because instead of +1, naging +3 times how many settings. So sa workplace, infections. Why? Kasi napansin nga is apart from medyo lax na sa pagsuot ng face mask, face shield, medyo nag-relax eh. Parang naging kampante or fatigue. It's a combination. Yung kumakain sa kantin, nag-uusap na matagalan sa kantin habang kumakain. So these are places of transmission talaga. When people converge. So now what we're trying to do is not only limit the workplace capacity to 30 to 50%, we're also discouraging eating in cafeterias. Dapat kanya-kanyang desk, kanya-kanyang kain. Wala na yung converge. The same principle sa homes. So pag uwi nung tatay or nanay, tapos may COVID pala, infected na yung asawa, infected na yung anak, so instead of +1, naging +3. Kaya sumipa ng ganito. Plus yung kapitbahay, and so on and so forth. And yung mga anecdotes din na nakukuha natin, yung mga home parties, kainan, inuman sa loob ng bahay, nakatago sa lahat, pero inimbita po yung mga kaibigan, barkada sa loob ng bahay, nagiinuman, kumakain, home parties, yun din po yung isa pang mode of transmission. Kaya nandun sa resolution that we're discouraging people from accepting visitors from other households. So bawal muna manligaw ngayon, bawal muna
Okay.
Ganyan talaga, ang daming factors po talaga mga Gov. And it really starts with being kampante, kumpiyansa, nag-uumpisa sa ganyan eh, na parang pagod na, parang everybody's violating na, kumbaga. Doon nag-uumpisa. Alam mo naman Pinoy, pag ginagawa ng kapitbahay, ayaw lamangan, ayaw siya magpalamang. Oh, ginagawa naman ni neighbor, o ako rin. May ganyan culture, alam mo naman. And then the workplace environment also.
These are good measures. One last point na lang, dahil yung request namin that IATF allowed local government units to use the antigen test kung wala silang molecular laboratory. Doon naman sa mga LGUs na may molecular laboratory, to allow them to use the PCR test for guests, non-appors, upon entry. Kasi sa amin, we find that the clinical and assessment, exposure assessment may not be very effective against itong asymptomatic persons, no? Yun lang sana paabot at sa ITF, and sana maibigay sa amin yung discretion. Not all of us naman would like to impose the testing requirement at the port of entry. Like si Gov. Garcia, hindi naman nag-i-impose ng testing, discretionary din. But give us the authority to impose it if we want it. More particularly yung antigen test kasi yun ang mas mura at mabilis yung result at wala naman kasi kaming molecular laboratory. Yung karamihan ng lalawigan ganyan eh. Yun lang ay isang talagang gusto naming ma-take up at sana ma-approve naman sa IATF. Siguro this time I'll ask the other governor. Sige po. Sige.
Ito po yung sa travelers, you're talking about the travelers?
Hindi po ito. Yung travelers were okay with the PCR test na taken outside the province. Yung iba po yung mga APORs, except the government officials, saka yung non-APORs, marami. And they tend to believe na wala na ho talagang testing, yung clinical and exposure assessment talagang gagawin. Walang quarantine, walang walang medical certificate, wala nang ibang requirements. Kaya ang dami-dami yung nag-a-apply, libo-libo. And we're so afraid kasi many of the guests and visitors dito sa Luzon, galing ho yan sa NCR at saka yung 4 na probinsya. Kaya I think at least for a certain period of time, bigyan ho tayo ng authority na ganyan. It's for our protection eh. At kami ho, maliliit lang yung facilities, isolation facilities. Ma-overwhelm ho kami kaagad yan. Yung mga system namin, hindi pa ganun kagaganda katulad ng first class provinces o second class. Mahihirapan ho kami. So yun lang ho, Kabsek. At siguro we'll entertain some questions from the governors naman. Yung mga gobs na gusto magtanong. Nandito pa si hardworking at talagang very innovative Secretary Karlo at napakagaling ng mga sagot mo. Si Gov Dax ba? Ano yun sino? Who will ask questions to Sir Karlo?
Nakikita ko si Gov Rodito, nag-raise na.
Gov Pipito. Sige, Gov Pipito. Go ahead.
Gov Rodito.
Rodito. Sorry. Yung gwapo ulit sa Isabela. Go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you. Belated happy birthday, Kabsek Karlo. Hindi ako nakabati sa iyo ng mabuti at ngayon lang kita nabati ng personal. Kabsek, ano ba talaga nangyayari sa Metro Manila? Gusto ko lang mag-suggest, Kabsek. Kasi habang bumabalik, habang nag-aano kayong GCQ ulit, babalik na sa kanto, pwede ba kasi magkaroon kayo ng news blackout na lang sa Metro Manila? Kasi ang daming spekulasyon na puro mali-mali, tapos ang daming fake news na nangyayari, tapos bigla kayong maglalabas ng 8,000 one day na COVID. Alam mo, nagsoso ng panic. Pangalawa, hindi naman lahat ng ospital sa Metro Manila nagsara at napuno ng COVID. Part na ng disinformation yan eh. Alam mo, Kabsek, minsan papasok na po yung eleksyon eh. Kahirap nitong ginagawa sa atin. Parang nagiging parang responsive tayo na lang, nagre-respond na lang tayo, nag-knee-jerk reaction tayo doon sa mga fake news at saka sinasabi ng mga tao. Pwede ba, ang hinihingi ko lang, sana, magkaroon ng clear-cut definition. Kasi ano ba talaga Metro Manila? Bumalik ba talaga? Ngayon, hindi namin alam kung pwede kami magbakasyon, pupunta ako ng Metro Manila, makakalabas pa ba ako pag nasa Metro Manila? Kasi gusto namin pumunta, kunyari, Batangas. Paano kami? Baka pagpasok namin ng Metro Manila, hindi na kami palabasin lahat. So, hindi clear-cut at hindi namin nakikita yung mga guideline. Puro kami nagtatanong, ano ba talaga mangyayari? Ano ba talaga yung ganito? So, wala kaming clear-cut definition kung ano talaga yung nangyayari dito sa atin, sa Metro Manila, at saka doon sa mga 4 na probinsya na ito. Kasi dadaan kami dyan, kunyari, pagpunta ng Batangas, gusto ko sana magbakasyon ng konti doon. Hindi na namin malaman kung ano ba talaga gagawin namin kasi hindi clear eh. Kasi ang nangyayari sa atin, nagiging reactionary tayo dun sa forces na parang iniipit ba tayo, parang gusto ipakita na itong gobyerno to incompetent, in which hindi naman eh. Hindi naman ako naniniwala rin na ganun yung mga spike ng Kaya lang naman nagkaroon ng maraming insidenteng ganito kasi ang dami ng testing ngayon eh. Kaya nagkaroon ng surge ba? Pero ako hindi ako naniniwala na sinasabi nila lahat ng hospital sa Metro Manila puno na daw. Wala ka na raw mapuntahan, wala ka na raw maanuhan. Pwede kong mag-comment about this
Yeah, thanks Gov. Well, tinatanggap naman natin na meron din talagang mga opposition or may mga kumakalaban sa gobyerno. That's number one. And well, the only way to mahirap kasi mahirap Gov kung biglang tayo media blackout kasi alam mo naman mas lalong lalaganap ang fake news, no? So we always try to get people to just consume the information and the data that is being propagated ng official government offices. And the best data to get that is Department of Health, no? So aside from the DOH website and Facebook. We also use whatever outlets that we have in terms of the government arsenal, TV, radio, social media, ng official government outlets, no? And sinasagot naman natin proactively, not only reactively, yung mga katanungan about Metro Manila halimbawa. Pero ano talaga yan, Gov? It's really gonna be a struggle talaga kasi kaya na sabi mo, lapit na rin ang election, so nagagamit talaga. Pero proactive and reactive naman yung aming strategy. Although, hindi naman siya 100%. Hindi naman siya 100%.
Nandito lang tayo dito sa damn if you do, damn if you don't, di ba? Pero yung pagsusow ng panic at saka hindi na nakakatulong sa bansa eh. Hindi na natin alam kung ano ba talaga priority ng gobyerno. Gusto nyo ba talaga buksan yung ekonomiya or ibabalik natin? Kasi katawa-tawa tayo kung babalik na naman tayo sa umpisa. Kasi kung sa umpisa, babalik tayo doon sa GCQ ng buong Metro Manila, pero mo, isang taon na tayong ganyan. Parang lumalabas, failure ng ating administrasyon ito. Kung ganun yung ibabalik nyo ulit yung Metro Manila. Tapos, ano mo, tandaan mo sa Metro Manila, may mga loko dyan na they want to chance upon yung sa gobyerno natin. Kasi may mga tao dyan, gusto tumakbo ng, alam mo na, presidente. Pag dating ng, ano yun nila talaga tayo? Ano yun? Ano nila tayo? Mamalayan nila tayo? Ano nila tayo? So what I'm telling you is just be careful kasi yung mga lumalabas na resolution nyo dito, yung 1, 2, 3, 4, yung mga resolution na dati yan eh. So binabalik na naman natin ulit yan. Alam mo, lalabas yan. Ano tayo? Incompetent tayo, Karlo, na ibabalik natin ulit yung mga nangyari nung last year na kasi ako sinasuggest ko talaga sa inyo, isang na lang, isang 12 o'clock, ito ang announcement. Alas 6, ito ang announcement. Tapos, hindi na yung paulit-ulit tayo na lalabas na resolution ng ganito, lalabas na resolution ng ganyan. Alam mo, pati kami mga gobernador, hindi na namin maintindihan kung ano nangyayari sa Metro Manila, kung ano papararatingin sa amin. Kumbaga, sana, tama yung sabi ni Governor Presby, bigyan nyo kami ng wide latitude of discretion. Kanya-kanya kami dito sa mga probinsya. Basta hindi lang kami nagla-lockdown. Basta free lang yung access ng trade. Free lang yung access doon sa mga, namin, mga dadaan-daan. Yun lang naman ang kailangan. Hindi na namin kailangan kung ano-ano pa. Tapos, ibigay nyo sa amin. Ang importante ngayon, makafocus ang gobyerno dito sa pagbabakuna. Doon na lang kayo mag-focus kaysa yung pabalik tayo ng pabalik, Capsec Karlo. Ano lang yun, 2 cents worth lang yun of my suggestion, Capsec Karlo.
Salamat. Thank you, Gov. Thank you, Gov.
Thank you. Any other query? I see Chairman Dax. Go ahead, Dax.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, good to see our Capsec looking very fresh.
Mga lang. Stress na stress na yan.
Capsec, mula nung kasama tayo sa Kongreso, parang tumanda ako ng 20 years during this COVID eh.
Lahat tayo.
Capsec, yung sa amin po, dito sa Quirino, we are experiencing a surge in cases. Eh. And not only in Quirino, I heard in Metro Manila, in some other urban areas in the region as well. So, as would be expected and as recommended by the IATF, we are practicing the zone containment strategies, granular lockdowns. But hindi maiwasan eh. Talagang nagla-lockdown kami ng purok-wide, barangay-wide, block-wide. And if needed, we might even attempt to do a municipal-wide lockdown. Ang tanong lang, Capsec, available pa ba yung assistance ng DSWD for SAP for those under lockdown man lang kahit granular?
Yeah, unfortunately, Gov, wala tayong bayanihan funds for that eh. Kasi kung naalala ninyo, nung last year, at least may bayanihan 1 and 2 para mapondohan yung SAP. But right now, wala kasi tayong equivalent for 2021. So as much as possible, parang wala talaga tayong makikitang pondong paggagamitan for SAP for 2021. You were in the budget, sa Kongreso tayo, nandun tayo sa APRO. So alam mo yan, no? Without a fund source and a budgetary item, hindi natin magagawa yung SAP for 2021 unless nga magkaroon ng bayanihan law ulit, because the bayanihan law allowed SAP to happen even under 2020 GAA. Ngayon sa 2021 GAA, wala kasi. So yun yung limitation natin ngayon.
Hello. Ay, sorry
Go
po.
ahead.
Ay, baka naman po pwedeng, Kamsek, kasi dahil ngayon nag-8,000 na tayo national active cases. So, in my own experience, this is not our first wave. This is not our second wave in Quirino. This is actually our first day. Ngayon lang talaga kami naka-experience ng ganito. Napupuno yung mga ICU namin, napupuno yung mga ospital. So medyo double time kami sa management. Baka naman through the IATF, we can either propose to the national government, BBM or to DSWD, kahit hindi the same na SAP, baka naman meron dyang existing line item budgets that can be tapped and maipon man lang ng IATF at ma-identify so that we can access for those affected by the granular lockdowns. Hindi naman po siguro aabutin ng same amount to nung Bayanihan 1 and 2 dahil granular naman po yung mga lockdown. Kung posible lang, Kapsec, we would be very happy to be informed kung paano namin ma-finance itong mga pag-support doon sa mga lockdowns na granular po.
Sige po, Gov. Let me talk to some of my fellow cabinet members kung meron man tayong, if there's something that they can propose, no. But let me ask them kung ano yung mga possibilities.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Dax.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any other governor who wants to ask any question to our hardworking Kabsec?
Governor
Yes, po.
Espina po. Roger Espina.
Governor Steve. Okay, go ahead, Governor Steve.
Espina.
Espina. Okay, sige. Go, Espina.
Naka-mute po kayo, Gov.
Good afternoon, President Presby and colleagues and of course, Kabsec Karlo. Magandang hapon po. Meron pong advisory si Yusek Kabutahe regarding the AstraZeneca vaccine wherein 10 doses lang daw ang pwedeng gamitin per vial. Pero sa katotohanan lang, pwede pong gawing 12 ang recipients nung 1 vial ng AstraZeneca. And according to the advisory, 10 lang ang pwedeng gamitin at discard na yung 2 extra dose na pwede pa galing sa AstraZeneca in 1 vial. So sabi nila meron daw legal implication pag ginamit o ni-report yung extra 2 doses sana na pwede pang pakinabangan ng ibang recipient. So ano pa dapat po ang gawin namin? Itapon namin yung extrang 2 dose sa isang vial, 10 lang ang ating i-vaccinate o ano pa hon dapat dito?
I'll have to check with DOH regarding that, no? Because syempre, I think it's more of a packaging. It's a packaging. What do you call this? Nuance. It's more of a packaging nuance than anything else. It's not. It's not. So sometimes siguro, since siguro hindi perfect yung pagkalagay ng dose or yung ano, baka maaring sobra. Maring sobra, but it's not in all vials, Gob. Yun ang problema. I guess the danger that DOH is trying to avoid also is yung baka kulang naman ang ibibigay na shot. I'd like to, Chairman at Press, if we could recognize Yusek Mirna Kabotahe, who can explain more.
Sige po, Yusek Mirna, if you're around, can you supply the answer?
Magandang umaga po. Ang experience po natin sa mga ibang bakuna, pag may extra po, pwedeng ibigay. So yun po ang ginawa. Pati yung mga pharmacists po, sabi nila, basta magaling kang kumuha, pwedeng extra dose. But when dumami na po yung mga question, binalikan namin yung mga kailangan tanungin, nagtanong tayo sa FDA, nagtanong tayo sa pharmacist, nag-out na po na tayo ng issue na according to the EUA, the Emergency Use Authorization na binigay ng ating AstraZeneca, 10 dose lang po yun. So hindi po allowed yung extra dose. So may advisory na po na hanggang 10 dose tapos i-discard. Hindi po kagaya ng Pfizer. Yung Pfizer po, dati-dati, ang kanilang EUA 5 dose lang. Pero nung makita nila sa mga experience nila na pwedeng mag 6 dose, nag-apply po sila ng additional 1 dose, kaya pwedeng 5 dose or 6 dose po yung Pfizer. Pero sa AstraZeneca hanggang 10 dose lang. Pero sasabihin din po natin, ang experience natin, nakaka-extract tayo ng 11 dose. Pero hindi po tayo babakapan ng WHO at saka ng FDA pag ibibigay po natin yung extra dose. Yan po ngayon ang official stand ngayon. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Mirna.
Pwede pong mag-follow up.
Go ahead, Roger. Go ahead.
Si Dax po.
I think si Dax po.
Sige, go. Sige, Chairman Dax, go ahead.
Yusek Mirna, about that, dun sa punto ni Gov. Roger, nung kasing nagpa-meeting ang AstraZeneca dun sa mga LA, natanong po yan, Yusek, i-share ko lang, pero of course we respect the DOH, we will abide by the DOH decision. Ang sinabi nila, kapag so daw sa isang vial at enough pa yung dosage, pwede daw pang gamitin. Pero ang wag daw gagawin ay yung sobra sa vial 1 at sobra sa vial 2 or vial 3 ay pasama at para makabuo ng extra dose. Wag daw gagawin. Yun ang sinabi nila. Basta kung enough yung sobra ng doon sa vial na yun, pwede daw. Pwede pa daw maitulong. Yun naman po ang sinabi. But I guess yung sinasabi nyo naman is more from a legal standpoint na hindi na siya covered ng EUA kung sakali man. Pero ko lang yun, Yusek Mirna. Bob Espina. Thank you po.
Thank you, Gov. Press.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Gov. Roger. Sige, Yusek. Yusek, Mirna.
Tama po si Gov. Dax. Ang aming instruction noon, pagsisimot para makabuo ng dose sa another vaccine. Kasi po, yung translation, yung mga infection. Pero that is still stands. Pero kung talagang nakakakita tayo ng 11, actually may document pa po na 12 dose, kailangan i-relay na sa AstraZeneca para bigyan ng additional proposal sa kanilang EUA na pwedeng 11 dose at saka 12 dose. Para we are truthful and we are faithful yung in-applyan nilang EUA.
Okay. Thank you, Yusek Mirna. Meron pa follow-up dyan? Gov. Roger, wala na ho?
Wala na po.
Thank you, Gov. Roger. Si Chairman Dax, okay na ho on your part? Okay. Any other question from the governors? Okay. In the meantime, Kabsec, Karlo, on the premise that the IATF will authorize the LGUs to make use of the antigen test, no, for visitors at the point of entry. Is it possible na national government na lang yung bumili ng antigen test kits abroad? Parang bulk purchase? That's on the premise na aprubahan nyo yung gamit ng antigen test kits sa upon arrival. Parang screening test. Pero kasi kung baka mas mura kung direct purchase sa government to government. Siguro baka pwedeng pag-aralan na lang yun. But anyway, that is conditional no? Anyway, you don't have to comment on that. Meron ba kung ibang mga questions kay Kabsec Karlo? Mga governors, alam niya, very busy si Sec Karlo. At sabi niya nga, na-stress na daw siyang mabuti sa trabaho to. And true enough, talagang very complicated yung mga situations that are before us. Ano? Hindi, meron ba diyang mga query? Ano?
Governor, remember last time there was a comment or suggestion of Governor Art Defensor regarding the prospectivity of IATF resolutions na sana po wag daw mauuna yung public makaalam, mauna po makaalam yung mga LGUs at the receiving end so that they have time to make adjustments. Remember, Gov? Baka po we can...
Okay. Opo, Kabsec Karlo, gusto sana ng mga LGUs na bigyan sana ng lead time sila bago ma-implement. Although there are certain measures or resolutions that need immediate action, yung that it should be implementable right away, no? So okay ho yun, understandable yun. Pero usually ho, yung mga LGUs, yan yung pinag-aaralan pa yung reason nyo ho, and then i-disseminate pa nila, and then they have to prepare for the implementation of that, no? So medyo sana bigyan ng a few days lead time bago implement yung particular resolution. But of course, kung talagang it's very urgent, then we will understand that. So request lang naman ho yun na magkaroon ng publication muna, a very wide dissemination of the resolutions at para the LGUs can prepare. And then isa pa ho, Sec Karlo, yung nanonotice ho namin dami lang lumalabas ng mga resolutions pertaining to COVID-19 yung different agencies, kanya-kanya ho yung issuances nila, no? So medyo mas maganda ho sana kung may parang clearinghouse na nagdaan na lang sa IATF na doon na lang pinapadala lahat. At saka sometimes like meron hong director nag-i-issue ng order. Ganon. Hindi namin alam kung okay ba sa sa secretary, yung mga ganung bagay ba, sana medyo padaanin na lang sa secretariat ng IATF lahat ng mga resolutions para medyo na-harmonize, parang clearinghouse ba, para makita lang kung merong kailangang i-harmonize, may conflicting. Okay, Kabsec?
Yes, Gov. Actually, for the information of all the Govs in the call, merong IATF website, no? It's iatf.oh.gov.p. So,
paki-mute lang ho yung iba. Excuse me, yung others, paki-mute lang ho yung
Opo. It's iatf.doh.gov.ph. That's iatf.doh.gov.ph. So diyan po nakalagay ang lahat ng resolutions natin and nakalagay din po yung lahat ng mga issuances ng other related issuances ng other agencies of government. But yes, I hear you, Gov, President Presby, na yung sa IATF Secretariat nga po na kailangan coordinated ang lahat, especially pag director level, yung mga binibigay ng mga directors dapat coordinated lahat sa IATF.
Thank you.
Governor.
Thank you, Sec Karlo. Any other governor? Sino?
Kasi, may duplication din po kasi yung ARTA issuances with the ILG issuances, di po ba? Yun po yung isang tinutukoy natin. And also po, Gob, yung sa prospectivity, kasi nagkagulo po nung CABSEC nung nag-issue ng 101 dahil yung sa NAIA, meron po kami mga constituents sa mga probinsya na nasa airport, tas biglang may change of policy, hindi po sila pinasakay ng airline, although na-lift na yung requirements. So yung mga ganun lang po, parang ang sabi ni Gov Defensor is transitory parang lead time po, opo. Para may transition lang po for the implementors to be able to make the necessary adjustments.
Yes. Opo.
Okay, taken.
We try as much as we can, pero like yung recent emergency talaga yon, that was just very very urgent yun. Kita niyo naman tumaas bigla. So minsan, alam niyo naman, I know of all people, the governors would know that. Kasi syempre, in your respective provinces also, kailangan ng immediate action. No? So, it's not perfect, not 100% talaga. But we try as much. But I understand the concern. Opo.
Thank you, Sec Karlo. Any other question, mga gobs?
Ay, Gob, na lang yung mga fake RT-PCR test daw po, may comment si CABSEC doon.
Yes, actually we appreciate pag nagsusumbong sa amin ng mga fake. Kasi pag nagsusumbong sa amin ng fake, agad makakasuhan natin, number one, and number two, matatrace back natin kung saan galing. So kailangan magtulungan talaga tayo dito kasi yung pag-detect, it starts with the detection kung fake, no. Siyempre, as much as we can, we try to find out saan ang mga sources ng mga yan, no? Pero tulungan na lang tayo with the local government units kasi kayo yung first na makaka-detect niyan. Kami, we try to, as much as possible, prevent and crack down. But obviously, we'll need some information to find out where the source is. But I'm sure you understand gaano kahirap maghanap ng source ng mga yan. Alam mo naman, kung may paraan, if there's a way, there's a will, there's a way. Alam mo yan, it's the ingenuity of some people. Nakakainis.
Ang suggestion po ng mga focal person namin, provincial focal person, is maybe the IATF can make a public announcement on the penalty in the revised penal code on falsification of public document, which is punishable by arresto menor.
Okay. Okay.
Galing na si Atty.
Falsify.
Okay, good suggestion. May mga questions pa ho from other governors? At
Isa na lang,
sino?
Mr. President.
Sige. Okay.
Isa na lang.
Okay. Gob dito din Gob Joben.
Captain Karlo. Yes, Captain Karlo, andiyan ka pa ba?
Opo. Still here, Gob.
Karlo, pakiano mo na lang na dapat discretion na ng tumayin ko na kayo diyan. Discretion ng provincial ng government kung ano talaga dapat yung mangyari sa kanilang probinsya. Katulad namin, CABSEC, hirap na kami dito kasi itong mga magwe-waiting na to, ikot na ng ikot dito, sila na nagdadala ng mga COVID, hindi pa namin mapahinto. So, ano yun mo nga dyan sa IATF nyo? Na yan yung per probinsya, dapat discretion na ng mga gobernador kung paano pahinto ang mga mga palarong ganyan, kung yung mga tao gala-gala, kung saan gumagala. So please lang, CABSEC, pakitulungan mo na lang kami dito. Nabigyan nyo ng wide latitude of discretion talaga. Yung hinihingi ni ni Governor Presby Velasco, yung aming president, nabigyan kami talaga ng wide latitude of discretion para dito sa mga pag-aano namin dito sa aming mga probinsya. Please lang, yun lang ang hinihingi namin.
Okay.
Meron naman yan, Gov, unless meron mga tao na who are claiming na binibigyan sila ng imprimatur or pahintulot ng national government, no? So I think doon yung sa concern niyo po, ano ba yung bit-bit nila na proof na sila ay may pahintulot mula sa national government?
yun nga pinapakita nila na meron silang pahintulot na pwede raw eh. Pwede raw sila magpalaro, pwede na sila umikot, pwede na sila mangolekta, pwede na sila mag house to house. Eh nawawalan kami ng nawawalan kami ng power ba o poder na pahintuin sila dahil nga sinasabi nila may pahintulot daw yung IATF. Kaya hindi
STL.
nila na yung mga STL. Exactly.
Sige po. I will report. I will report yung sa STL.
Yes, thank you very much, Kamsek.
Thank you. We'll recognize Governor Joben ba? Governor Joben.
Yes,
go ahead,
thank
recognize.
you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for this opportunity. And good afternoon to the rest of the governors, especially to Kabsec Karlo. Good afternoon, Karlo. No? Well, I don't know if this is possible, but considering that my constituents in Boracay has requested me to relay this to the IATF. As you know, Boracay has always been an exception to the current IATF rules, especially on travelers. Since October, we have been allowed to open Boracay as long as there is an RT-PCR test for all tourists. And this we have maintained until the present. Now, I know that tourists are not essential travelers, but considering that now is the time wherein our businesses in Boracay can somehow recover the losses, and as you know, our industry has really been badly hit. People in Boracay are actually suffering already. And now is the time that we are getting an uptick of travelers, since this is already the Holy Week and the summer. Now, I don't know if it can be reconsidered that tourists that are bound for Boracay be allowed to continue with their travels, because many have already booked their flights, booked their bookings. And in a way, this will also help our airlines continue their businesses. As of now, we have 7 flights a day going to Boracay. And if this is again restricted, then it will also be losses for the airlines and also for our establishments in Boracay, especially our health worker, our tourism workers. So I don't know if the IATF can reconsider its guidelines. Of course, we know that tourists are not essential travelers, but to consider our request that since we have already been following guidelines since October, and we do not accept any tourist going to Boracay without RT-PCR test. And this tourist also goes direct to Katiklan, which is directly going to Boracay. So that the incidence of transmission will be limited because we only allow tourists going to Boracay using Katiklan Airport and back. So I don't know if that is possible, Sec, since this will somehow also will help our airlines, our industry partners to at least continue during this Holy Week, because you know, since we opened in October, the most that we had an occupancy rate was 10 to 20%. Now, because of the coming Holy Week, I was informed by most of the hotels in Boracay that they are experiencing 60 to 70% occupancy. And if this will be again restricted, and this is the only time that these people will be coming after Holy Week, it's down again. No? It will be down again since ito lang naman yung time na pwedeng magbakasyon yung mga tao dyan. So I don't know if this is possible, Sec. Karlo, no? If this can be considered by the IATF for Boracay alone. I don't know with other destinations. Thank you, Sec.
Thank you, Gov, Mr. Chairman and Press. I can relay the message to the IATF members, no. Ayoko rin pangunahan ano may decision nila, but I can relay the concern to the IATF members. Of course, we can expect that some of them may oppose this and say na anyway this is just 2 weeks, no. But I also understand your predicament na Dito nga lang makakabawi sa Holy Week. But again, let me take this to the IATF members and ask them, consult with them kung anong palagay nila, no, anong kanilang sentiments about this. But unless the IATF comes up with a new resolution, this latest resolution will stand. No? So, balikan kita, Gob, ha?
Yes, thank you, Sec. Yun lang naman. I was asked by my constituency, the establishments, to just relay the message. I know it will be quite difficult for the IATF to decide, but na-relay ko na rin. Nagawa ko na yung trabaho ko. Thank you, Sec.
Thank you, Gov. Joben. Sec Karlo, I fully support the request of Governor Joben. We badly need foreign tourists. Actually, they're supposed to get the RT-PCR test before arrival. So that's a good preventive measure, and that's the best way of finding out if they are positive or not. And then these foreign tourists usually have bookings already at the hotels, no? And we can impose an additional requirement that they should have this itinerary of activities. Their activities inside the LG of destination should be regulated and monitored by the travel agencies and even the hotel owners. So I think the LGU and the tour operators and the hotel owners can effectively monitor their movements and see to it that they're subjected to certain testing requirements from time to time. I think we should allow this because that is precisely why we agreed to the removal of the travel restrictions. We fully support the petition of Governor Joben that these foreign tourists should be allowed to enter. There are sufficient safeguards already by which the transmission will be prevented. So yun lang ako, Kabsec Karlo. I think we should allow them. Nakabook na ho yan. It's a black mark on us eh. They have prepared for this. They already bought their tickets probably. They made reservations with the hotels there or the resorts. And then all of a sudden, we stop it. I think the responsibility falls on the shoulders of the LGU. Ang galing naman ni Governor Joben. At saka yung mga ating municipal government officials and the BERHs. Nandiyan naman ho yan. The police will be there. Just see to it that these tourists, the activities of the tourists are regulated. That is closely monitored also to prevent exposure to other people. Pwede naman ho yan. Parang tourist bubble. Fix lang yung activities nila for a certain period, then they go back to the hotel. Doon sa hotel naman, monitor din sila, regulated din yung movements. I think we should allow them, not only for Boracay, but for other resort areas. Sayang ho yung opportunity and we badly need the money, hindi ho ba, Kabsec Karlo? I hope this can be approved by the IATF through you, Sec Karlo.
Yes, Pres. So yung subject matter is only foreign? Are we talking foreign or
I think so.
Foreigners or ano?
Foreigners ho yan. Joben, ano ho yan? Foreigners naman ho?
No, Mr. President, no. I'm just talking first of the domestic tourists that comes from Manila because they have already made their bookings, etc. And we have been already practicing the suggestions of Governor Velasco that the itinerary is already limited to tourist sites. So for domestic tourists na muna, Kabsec, no? But of course, we support also the statement of Governor Velasco, Mr. President, that we should also consider already the opening up of our economy for foreign tourists. As you know, just for info, Sec, some Korean travel operators have already expressed their desire to come back to Boracay and the Philippines. And they've been asking us what are the protocols already. Actually, Sec, they have even already got some advanced bookings in some of the hotels in anticipation of the opening up of our tourism market. So as long as the safeguards are there, I'm sure we can somehow manage this. Since Boracay has also its own airport, and the flights are coming direct from Korea and the other countries where maybe we can consider their tourists. So there will be no danger of the tourists making transmission in Metro Manila. But anyway, itong concern lang namin, Sec, is for the meantime, for this Holy Week lang. Kasi ito lang naman yung window eh. After the Holy Week, wala na to. Mawawala na itong mga turista sa amin. So itong window lang of the Holy Week ang hinihingi namin for domestic tourists. Thank you, Sec. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, may I add to that, Sec Karlo? Sa amin we consider yung domestic traveler eh. We also require them to present a PCR test eh. For domestic travelers, if that is the subject matter of the request of Governor Joven, basta may PCR test, pwede na ho yun eh. Kasi gold standard naman ho yan eh. That's covered by Reso 101. Sa amin we distinguished eh. Foreign traveler at saka domestic traveler. Basta ho hindi resident ng ng aming province, subjected ho sa PCR test yan. I think that's a sufficient safeguard eh. Plus yung clinical and exposure assessment. And then of course, the local government unit will really be strict in the compliance of the minimum health standards. Yun naman ho. I think it should be allowed eh. Basta ho yung may testing lang, either pre-travel requirement or upon arrival. Eh si Gov. Joven yata may molecular laboratory na Gov. Joven? Do you have one? Meron na ho sila
Yes. We have already, Mr. President.
It can be done there at the port of entry, at the airport or seaport. Kaya he can control eh. Yun ang kailangan ho namin, Sec Karlo, yung testing upon arrival. Kung hindi pwede yung PCR test as a pre-travel requirement, yung upon arrival, ma-testing din namin. Eh sila, meron silang molecular laboratory. They can use the PCR test sa port of entry or seaport. Eh maganda hong bagay. Gold standard, then we know. Pag may sila, okay, pag positive, we reject. We can refuse entry or put them under quarantine. Eh hindi na rin pupunta yun. I think it can be done eh. Check. Gov. Joven, you want to say something pa?
No, thank you so much for the support, Mr. President.
Tama ho yun eh.
I think we're in the same boat because we have also tourists going to Marinduque.
Pero mas marami yung sa inyo, libo-libo.
Konti na lang ho eh. Dati libo, ngayon hundreds na lang.
Hundreds na lang.
At saka malaki yung bagay yung nawala sa Boracay. But ito nga, sabi ng mga hotel owners, makabawi man lang sila dito during the Holy Week. Ito lang namang period na to, during the Holy Week period.
Okay. Yeah, Sec Karlo.
Yeah, I will, like I said, I will relay the message. Tingnan natin kung ano yung may reaction ng mga principals ng IATF.
Governor, wag lang yung RT-PCR kasi Secretary, may mga travel agents na nagpa-process ng fake negative PCR test. Ginagamit nila yung PGH template na signed na, tapos pino-photoshop nila. And then they charge for a fee. Yung pinost ko po sa inyo. Yan po. Nagsusumbong na po kami.
Anyway, I think we can do something about that, Sec Karlo. We can really make an announcement that even the possessor of the falsified document will be arrested. So they should not really accept anything like that, unless good. No? So I think that can be remedied then. No? So anyway, baka meron pa bang ibang questions sa Governor? Alam ko marami pang meeting si Sec Karlo. Kanina pa ho siya sa atin. Any other comment or query from any other governor?
Governor Bichat.
Kung wala na ho.
Governor Bichat.
Si Gobal. Gobal, sige po. Gobal, you can ask the question. Come in, Gobal.
Nakamute po kayo, Gov.
Gobal, nakamute ka daw. Open the yung Gobal. You're muted.
May pipindutin po dyan, Gov.
Yeah.
Ayan.
There you are. We heard you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. We can hear. We can see you. Go ahead.
Actually, good morning, fellow governors and Capsec Karlo. No, I've just observed that these undersecretaries of the DI seems to be has the tendency to think that they have control over the LGUs. Now we have discussed this already several occasions in the House of Representatives. Point here is the secretary with previous secretaries. What is now the position of the secretary of the DFE? Do they have control or supervision over the LGUs? And they responded, supervision. Bakit nag-order sila sa atin? Kami yung secretary nag-order. Ito, order niya. Kanya-kanyang order sila. To the point na ini-intimidate na yung mga local chief executives, yung barangay officials. Now, we're not responsible. We're elected by the people and we're directly accountable to the people. And itong mga secretaries are appointed. Okay. Now, why don't we consider this? We'll be trying to keep a low rate of positives in our respective areas. Hindi naman pwede yung solution nyo sa Maynila, i-adapt nyo sa amin. We're going to start classifying yung mga LGUs, high risk and low risk. Pwede naman kami pumasok sa low risk and kami nang papatakbo ng mga policy namin. So we can have a unified policy. Look what the IATF did. Binigyan kanya-kanya yung mga LGU. So nagkagulo. May isang city dyan, ibang policy, ibang protocol. Sa ibang lugar, ibang protocol. No, I've been there for more than 30 years as a governor and a representative. Ito mga bagong pasok sa DILG. Sa pagsasabihan kami kung and what are the accountabilities? Wala. Kami may accountability sa mga tao. We're willing to take the risk. All you have to do is classify it na. Para yung low risk, give it to the governors. Ano sa tingin mo, Capsec? Because you came from Congress also.
Well, Gob, ano naman, di ba? Sa province nyo, naka-MGCQ naman kayo. So, your province is low risk po.
Low risk, but you better put it in writing. Yung low risk, ibigay na sa provincial government. Yung high risk, okay, take over kayo para ma-neutralize niyo yung problema doon. Dahil Metro Manila, Calabarzon.
So kung low, parang ang sinasabi mo, Gov, kung low risk, then kumbaga kayo na magsabi na parang ibubuksan mo na yung buong ekonomiya. Meaning to say tourism and all of these, wala ng category 1, 2, 3, 4?
Yeah. We want to restore back the economy. So ibig sabihin, we also have our ways to do it. Doesn't mean we'll control the economy. So we'll have our own protocol, our own policy in our respective provinces.
So halimbawa, just for my for mas maintindihan ko, Gob. Kunyari sa inyo, sa province ninyo, i-classify na kayo low risk. So ano mangyayari?
We will still observe the general protocol. But siyempre, yung border control, ayusin namin para hindi mahahawa yung as a local government to ensure the welfare close to ensure the safety and health of our constituents. It's a powerful provision of the local government.
Tama naman yan, Gob. Kayo naman kayo naman kayo yung may power and authority to conduct to do whatever.
For instance, let me interrupt. No, kaya ng antigen. Most of the hospitals, before they accept the patient, in-antigen nila. Pag positive, pinapadala sa government hospital under the Department of Health. Kami, hindi pwede kami mag-antigen. So I have to hire somebody authorized by the DOH na sila na sa mga border control o sila na doon magbabayad ng tao. And they charge, sa mga hospital, they charge 2,500, 2,000. Itong kausap ko, 1,000 pesos. So sometimes, they make it difficult for us. May mga bawal sa amin. Pero ginagawa ng mga private hospitals.
Sa antigen, Bob, may ipapadala akong guidelines kay I can also send it to you, no, yung guidelines ng DOH with regard to antigen. So meron tayong DOH guidelines with regard to the use of antigen in areas na walang RT-PCR. And this is was approved by the Department of Health. So I promise to send Gov Presby. And then I can send it to you also sa Viber niyo po.
In other words, we have to make our job easier.
Yeah,
kasi yung ginagawa nila, kung ano-ano pa, palipat-lipat, kaya nun. Dito sa province ng Albay, isa lang ang QR code namin. You get pass. And then the DILG orders that we use the safe pass. Okay naman yun. Dahil meron na kami, pwede naman i-link yung dalawa. Ang point dito, minsan huli na yung mga desisyon nila. Kasi may mga ginagawa na kami dito na hindi covered nila. So, pag naumpisa na yun, yung mga tao, they got used to it, they're adapting it, and here comes a new advisory from the DILG introducing what we're doing already. Bugulo ang I mean, you make it difficult for the people here.
Yung sa Stay Safe, boss, pinapa-integrate lang natin para one lang tayo to the whole country.
That's the order. The order is to use in order Himalaya. That's why sabi, ba't ang order ng DILG? Under na ba tayo ng DILG? O nawala na yung autonomous rights namin.
No, I understand your concern, Gob, pero kailangan kasi integrated tayo because people will go travel to your province mates will go to other provinces, NCR, so that kailangan talaga integrated. But integration lang naman with Stay Safe ang I mean there's a techie way of doing it naman eh.
For the sake of argument, Absec, you know, in Manila, you run, the AIT was running the show there, and they're adapting the same to the other provinces. And there was total failure sa Manila. Lumala ngayon. We're still safe. So, we have to protect our boundaries. Kasi ngayon, yung iba doon, most of the hospitals are fully occupied. And some of them, they don't want to be confined in the hospitals in Manila. So some who are symptomatic or asymptomatic, they're going to the provinces para siguro maka-isolate na lang sila sa mga bahay nila, pa-quarantine sila. They'll be taking the travel. You have to consider that.
Yes, Gob.
Okay.
This is just
yes, Gob. Yes, Gob. Yes, of course.
Okay.
I appreciate it, Gob. Thank you.
Thank you, Gob Al, for those views. Siguro, Kabsec Karlo, parang the way I get it, pinapahatid yung nandiyon ng mga ibang governors, no? Actually we are given the power, no, the authority to impose reasonable regulations regarding COVID-19, no? Provided we notify the RITF at saka IATF. But for other deviations or amendments to the IATF rules, we have to get the approval of the RITF or the IATF. Baka we can look at that arrangement where basta sa loob parang local protocols namin, we implement it, no? And then copy furnish yung RITF and IATF. Basta sa loob kasi that's our responsibility naman no. We in general follow the IATF resolutions But the LGU should be given a discretion in coming up with certain measures to prevent transmission. Yun lang naman ang hinihingi natin at saka sana we can make it effective immediately. Kasi minsan we have to declare a lockdown right away. No, we don't have to wait for the approval of the RITF or IATF pag ganun. We just notify. Kasi we're in the best position to know what means are most effective in preventing a very high transmission of the virus. Makapagpasok sa loob. Pero isang issue na nga lang, yung sa travel requirements, yun ang medyo we're proposing that we be allowed at the LGUs be given the discretion to impose testing requirements like the antigen test. Pero basta nakapasok na, yun ang discretion namin to impose reasonable rules, protocols. And we don't have to ask the approval of the RITF or the IATF. We will just notify you. Kasi alam naman namin na rin yung gagawin after 1 year. We're so familiar and experienced already in dealing with this. Pag kailangan naman namin ng tulong, siguro tumatakbo naman kami sa provincial DOH. Talagang kakalampagin namin o yung RD ng DOH sa region. Tatakbuhan namin yung kaagad pag kailangan namin We have that very close and harmonious working relationship already. Yun lang, yung discretion lang to impose these protocols or measures which may not be actually covered by your resolutions. Saka we can implement it right away kasi a few days delay, kakalat lalo yung virus. Basta nag-lockdown kami, kaagad yun? Lockdown na kaagad. And then copy furnished kayo with notification to IATF at saka regional task force. Baka the IATF can consider that, yung leeway na yun, yung discretion na yun.
Yung lockdown naman, Gov, di ba nasa power niya naman mag-impose ng lockdown?
Oo nga, pero as far as I know, parang nagre-request pa yata kami ng approval niyan di ba?
I-clarify ko yan, Gov, kasi ako, ang pagkaintindi ko nga dyan is may power na kayo mag-lockdown and then
immediately without waiting for the approval. No approval needed rather.
Balikan kita dyan, Gov, pero yan ang that was my interpretation. Para
hindi totoo yun. Kabsek Karlo, tama si Governor Presby. Kailangan ng approval ng IATF. Dinidemanda kami dyan. Kabsek Karlo, mo lang, clarify mo mabuti. Tama si Governor Presby. Hindi totoo yung
Sige po. Pa-clarify ko po.
Thank you, Sir Karlo. Any other query? At overtime na po tayo. Kailangan i-blow out na natin si Sir Karlo. Talagang malaking tulong po, Sir Karlo. Thank you very much.
Birthday po ni Secretary.
Birthday ba? Happy birthday. All the best to you, Nako. We wish you all the best,
September pa yung
ba? Talaga to si Santi, mali pa. Di ba yung September? Advance greeting. Advance.
Ang kinakantsaw ni Gov Rodito yung father-in-law ko, kaka-birthday lang. Hindi ako.
Father-in-law. Okay. Sige. Okay. Sige, mukhang wala na yatang questions Sir Karlo. On behalf of the governors, the League of Provinces of the Philippines, we extend to you our gratitude for participating in this dialogue. We were elucidated on so many matters at saka we learn so many things from you. Maraming salamat and we just request your help and assistance on our propositions and recommendations. Maraming salamat po. Keep safe at mabuhay ka, Sir Karlo. Maraming salamat po sa iyo.
Thank you, Press, Gov, at kay Chairman Gov at sa lahat po ng mga governors in the call. Thank you po for your support. And anytime po, if you need more clarifications, I'm just a Zoom call away. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye po. Ingat
Thank you.
po.
Keep safe.
Ingat lahat.
Okay, God bless. All right.
God bless. Thank you.
All right.